Studio after DT in DC. That's right, baby. We were out in the nation's capital over the last few days, and I had the opportunity of broadcasting live from the nation's capital area and, of course, being on site on location for some pregame, some in-game, as well as post-game. And there's more to come from the Army-Navy game, and my opportunity to cover the Army Black Knights as well as the Navy Midshipmen. Navy winning 31-13 in this, the 125th iteration of the Army-Navy game. The Commander-in-Chief Trophy going to the Navy, and the Navy breaking their two-game losing streak. They've lost 6 of 8 of the Army-Navy games going into that matchup, and now they are on the winning side of things. They go to 9-3 and head to their bowl game, and the Army Black Knights go to 11-2 and head to their bowl game, which is very interesting because not one player, not two players, not three players, not 10 players, but an entire team opted out of a bowl game. Interesting. We'll talk about it. A lot of stuff coming up here. DT and Murphy. You haven't seen Murph in a little bit here as he's been on the road, we've been on the road, and we are now back with you and happy to have you here on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And now picture in picture, the man they call Murph is here with us straight back from Philly. Murph, how we doing?
It's been a little while. It's weird. It's been like what, almost 3 weeks since we've done a show.
2 weeks that we haven't. So yeah, this is
yeah,
three, yeah.
That's those last 2 Mondays have been a little strange. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely good to have you back here. We're gonna hop right into it. Your Mets brought in Juan Soto. Now, I do want to give some credit to some people out here that join our polls. And for those of you that go on to X, the former Twitter, and you vote in our polls that we put up pretty much weekly or every couple weeks, which is on the former Twitter X @CallDT. That's CALLDT on X. For those of you that voted in the poll, and I asked the question, where's Juan Soto going to end up? The majority of you picked the New York Mets, and the majority of you were correct. So, Murph, your thoughts on Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million. The team can decide to get rid of the opt-out clause in 2029, and that would make his contract worth $805 million instead of $765. It will boost his average salary from $51 million a year to $55 million a year. Juan Soto to the Mets, thoughts, and did they overpay for him?
Thoughts? Let's go, baby. Let's go, Mets. Anytime you can get a generational talent like Juan Soto in the building, it doesn't matter how much you paid him. Our owner, in just the last week, has made over $250 million in the stock market. At that rate, this contract will be paid off by the end of the month, by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, is he overpaid? You know, anybody with a brain is probably going to say yes because he shouldn't have been making more than Ohtani. But that's what it took to get him in the building, and, you know, who cares? Realistically, the Mets still have $100 million to reach last year's payroll. They are literally $100 million under where they were last year, and that's with Juan Soto under contract. You could still go back out and get Alonso. You could still go back and get Minaya. You could still trade for a starting pitcher. All of these things you can still do and probably still be under the $355 million payroll that we had last year. So I don't even care how much we paid him. We got him in the building. My jersey's on the way. Oh my goodness. I've been on cloud 9 for the past week when it comes to that. I was talking about it with fans down at the Philly show all weekend long. We'll get into that, you know, how the show and everything was later, but a lot of Mets fans there, a lot of Phillies fans there, a lot of Yankee fans there, a lot of mixed opinions. We saw Yankees fans have mental breakdowns after Soto went to the Mets. They went from on Saturday calling him this amazing player that, he's this amazing player that everybody loves, and you give him whatever it takes to keep him in the Bronx, and he's got to stay for the legacy, hit behind Judge and everything, or hit in front of Judge. Then he signs with the Mets. Oh, he's overrated. He's overpaid. Like, Yankee fans, you suck. Yankee fans, I've said, and I've said on this show that I hate Philadelphia Eagles fans. I hate New York Yankee fans more. And I think most sports fans do. They are the biggest bandwagon fans in all of professional sports. They just care about October. Well, what happened in October? They played the Royals. Easy. They played the Indians. Not that good. Then they got a reality check against the Dodgers in the World Series, who, for the record, we lost 2-6, you lost 2-5. Therefore, we are better, especially because we swept y'all in the regular season. I hate the Yankees. I have always hated the Yankees. I will never have anything good to say about the Yankees. And I'm so happy that we stole Juan Soto away. Hal Steinbrenner, you didn't want to give the man a suite. You weren't nice to Juan Soto's family. That's what happens, buddy. Let's go Mets.
Well, I will say a few things.
I know a little bit of that was emotional. So
no, I know. I will say a few things. So, you and I disagree about Joe Torre and his effect on the Yankees franchise. And I think he's done an incredible job, and I grew up knowing his name only when it came to managers. When I was a little kid, it was Joe Torre.
That's probably most people.
There wasn't anybody else. And so, to that effect, shout out Joe Torre. Yankees still let go of him too early, in my opinion. And as far as theft from the Bronx to Queens, that is going to be an interesting thing. I want there to be like multiple Subway Series every season now. Like, I want there to be like more of an enhancement of a Subway Series. I know that there's a few games that get played, but I think that wearing Yankees pinstripes, now wearing Mets pinstripes, and switching boroughs, I think anybody in New York City will tell you that if you grow up in a borough and you got friends in a borough and you move to another borough, they may disown you. You grew up in the Bronx and you had friends in the Bronx and you went to school in the Bronx, and Petey's in the Bronx and Steve's in the Bronx and Sal's in the Bronx, and all of a sudden you moved to Queens and now Petey, Steve, and Sal don't know anything about you because you're a traitor. So that's where we're at right now. This is gangs in New York. This is a different world, and I think that Juan Soto, I'm excited for it. He's going to be public enemy number one, and he's going to potentially be world hero on the other side. So
Friday, May 16th in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Subway Series.
I think
he's going to get booed. Yeah. Something else. Oh, my God. And I think he's ready for it.
Well, I think Yankees fans, Yankees fans are going to pay for these tickets. They're going to go over to Queens. They're going to want to see this. They're definitely going to let them know in the Bronx.
They boo their own players.
Yeah. Well,
of course they're going to boo Soto.
Apparently that's a New York thing, because Syracuse fans boo their own team in the dome.
It's a stupid thing. Yeah. Because I've been at Mets games and we've started booing our own players, and I'm like, yeah, we don't do this. Like, Mets fans were never known to do that. Yankee fans were. Remember when Giancarlo Stanton, in his first 2 weeks as a Yankee, he struck out like a dozen times and was starting to get booed? Mets fans have realized, and other sports fans have realized, that when your player's struggling, don't boo them. Give them a standing ovation. Remember Trey Turner? I don't know. I think it was last year. He was going through a really tough stretch after the World Baseball Classic. He was on fire in the WBC. But in May and June, he was really struggling, and hitting maybe 220, and he wasn't hitting for power. He wasn't getting on base. So the Philly fans gave him a standing ovation. What happens? He starts playing great again. You know what that can do for somebody's mental confidence? Like, what they can do for them? Lindor, beginning of this year, was having a brutal start to the year. Brutal start to the year. He had a rough month of April. May rolls around. Mets fans give him a standing ovation. He finishes second in the MVP. Arguably could have won it if it was any other year other than a 50-50 season for Ohtani. Realistically. Another one, Francisco Alvarez in the playoffs. Game 3 of the Dodgers series. We give him a standing ovation. What does he do? He goes 3 for 3. You don't boo your own players. This is why guys don't want to play for the Yankees anymore. Seriously. You go somewhere, you get booed by your own fans. Why do you want to play for them? Why?
Well, and that's something that happens in Syracuse. I mean, a lot of guys transferring out of the basketball program every single season, averaging 3 to 5 from Boeheim to Autry. Put up a poll here on X. You can vote in it right now, and you can vote in it throughout the week. I want to hear what you have to say. If you had to choose, feet to the fire, this means you don't have to be a fan of these teams. I just want to know where you land. Okay, I'm a Diamondbacks fan in the comfort of my own home, but I got to choose a side, right? So you got to pick a side. If you had to choose, feet to the fire, who do you side with, the Yankees or the Mets? You could vote in that poll right now on X at CallDT. That's CALLDT. If you had to pick, who do you side with, the Yankees or the Mets? Let me know what's going on here. Jerry said, I was there for some of those standing ovations for Trey. It was fantastic. Obviously, we know Big Jer is a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies. The votes are coming in early, and they're coming in for the Mets. So, some exciting things here this morning.
And good on the Phillies fans, by the way, because realistically, they kind of started that. Yeah. And anybody that's listened to me on this show knows that I have a horrible taste in my mouth for Philadelphia sports fans, mostly Eagles fans. But at the same time, I can appreciate when they do something like that, because that is as classy a move as a fan base can make. And you could tell something clicked in Trey Turner's head after he got that standing ovation. Because like I said before, these guys are human beings. They have feelings. They have emotions. When you make them feel like crap, they're probably going to play like crap. When you make them feel like you appreciate them and you're there for them, that's when they start to play well. It is. It just is.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at these two teams going back to the Yankees and the Mets, and this decision by Juan Soto to do what he did. The man making a ton of money, having an opportunity to show who he can be, to stand out even more so, to not be there with Aaron Judge, but to be the guy at the moment. Now, in the polls that I put up months ago where you picked Juan Soto to go to the Mets, and those of you that did accurately predicted that, so congratulations. You also predicted, I believe in more so of a landslide, that Pete Alonso will stay a Met. So that is still up in the air. We're still wondering here. But
for the love of God, please.
If Pete Alonso goes to the Mets, I want to take a look at this. The Mets with Juan Soto and Pete Alonso, this is what your New York Mets would look like. I'm looking at the finances here and looking at their roster right now.
So you figure maybe Pete gets $25 million-ish a year? You're still under 75. You're still $75 million under last year's payroll.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these names here. Payroll, money-wise, you got Frankie Montez here. You got Juan Soto. As far as how much contracts cost, Juan Soto is obviously at the top of the Mets payroll. Francisco Lindor, Sterling Marte. You have Brandon Nimmo. Frankie Montez, Jeff McNeil, Kodai Senga, Edwin Diaz, Clay Holmes.
McNeil's getting a lot of money.
And then Clay Holmes. Everyone that I named of those 9 are making over $10 million a year. Then you have Paul Blackburn, David Peterson, Tyrone Taylor, Jose Siri, Tyler McGill, as well as Luis Torrens, Dylan Covey. Well, all the guys I mentioned up to Torrens are making at least $1 million a year. And then there's guys that fall below that on the roster. So And then Brett Beatty's only making $800,000. Jeepers Christmas. But you look
Well,
at
the pre-arb guys are usually going to make less than $1 million.
yeah. So seeing this,
So Vientos is probably down there too with Beatty.
yeah. So looking at this and saying Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Starling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, Frankie Montez, and so on and so forth. Senga, who some people got excited about this season, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty. If we add in Pete Alonso, arguably speaking, how do you look at the Mets for 2025?
Still need pitching. Pete. I mean, the thing is, whether you bring Pete back or not, like first base is not a hard position to fill, right? I mean, they can sign Carlos Santana, they can maybe sign Christian Walker. I know, I'm sure you probably want him back in Arizona, but the writing seems to be on the wall. He's probably not going to be back with the Diamondbacks. But you look at the rest of the roster. With Soto, you bring in somebody to play first base, or you bring in somebody to play third base, whatever you decide to do. Maybe if Alonso signs elsewhere, maybe you go trade for Nolan Arenado. I know he's kind of on the decline, but he's still arguably the best defensive third baseman in baseball, and he could still hit 250 clip, 25, 30 bombs, and be a decent hitter in the middle of your lineup. So, I'd look at something like that. But if, let's say you bring Pete back, you still need arms. Yeah. Right? I mean, you can't go into the season with, Kodai Senga, Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, David Peterson, and Tyler McGill as your 5 starters. Like, you need more, right? Like, whether it's Minaya or maybe a trade for somebody like Luis Castillo, or, maybe you do go after Corbin Burns, which it doesn't seem like they're in on him. Ultimately, I think you figure Alonso, for sake of a round number, say $25 million a year. Let's say you want to bring Minaya back at 20. Let's just keep it round number, say $25 million a year. So you bring in Pete, you bring back Pete, you bring back Minaya. Now you got a little bit of a better rotation. You still got about $50 million to work with if you're trying to get back to last year's payroll. If you want to keep it under the big luxury tax threshold, then maybe you want to slow down, but there's still trades to be made. I mean, there's still pitchers on the trade market that you can go get. Now, I'm really glad that Garrett Crochet is going to the Red Sox and not the Mets. I did not want Garrett Crochet on this team, and that's not to discredit Garrett Crochet. He's an outstanding pitcher with great stuff, but he's pitched one season as a starter. Yes, he was dominant, but he didn't pitch a whole lot of innings. He's had a history of injuries throughout his career. Why would I give up a ton of prospects to go get him? I wouldn't. So I look at this, and the name that immediately comes to my head is Luis Castillo from the Mariners. It's been known that they might trade him this offseason. You probably don't have to give up a lot, especially if you take his contract. Maybe maybe they want a guy like a Beatty or like a Ryan Clifford type player, and you don't have to give up a top prospect. Maybe you give up like a top 10 prospect, and then a top 20 prospect. Maybe they want like a big leaguer or a guy that's a borderline big leaguer, or maybe a reliever, or maybe maybe they want Brett Beatty. Who knows? But if we bring Pete back, Beatty is probably going to be moved in the offseason, and I feel bad. I like Beatty, but he's as of right now, he's a quad A player. He struggles in the big leagues. He rakes in AAA. So he's the type of guy that's going to be like, there's guys that rake in AAA and have trouble in the majors. Yeah. It's a massive step forward to go from AAA to the major leagues. It is. Yeah. You got big league players down there, big league pitchers down there, but the pitching in the major leagues versus AAA is like, imagine going immediately from little league to the minor leagues. That's kind of the equivalent of going from AAA to the major leagues. So ultimately, if they re-sign Pete, I love it, but they still need arms. They still need to go sign at least one more, if not 2 more starting pitchers. Sign 1, trade for 1, sign 2, trade for 2, whatever you need to do. Bring some more arms in, and then I'll feel a lot more comfortable about this team. As it stands right now, they still need to make some moves. But everybody thinks that this Soto deal is going to handcuff us, but it's not. You're forgetting how much our payroll was last year. We paid Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and James McCann $85 million to not play for us. Imagine paying Juan Soto and Pete Alonso 76 to play for us. And then you got other money to use. I'm in. I mean, I was going to be in on Soto regardless if we got him. I can't even describe how excited I was when we got him, man. My parents were sleeping, so I didn't want to scream, but man, was I pumped.
Yeah. No, I mean it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing opportunity for the Mets, and this is one of those things where in the past people thought if someone is out there, they got a huge name, there's a really good chance they're going to be a Yankee. There's that threat every year that someone who's really good somewhere, anywhere, is going to become a Yankee, and that the Mets can't get these guys, the Mets can't afford these guys, the Mets won't go after these guys. And not only did they do it in this time around, but they went after somebody that was a Yankee, someone that was with the Yankees for a season. And the question was he going to be a long-term answer, or was he going to be short-term there? He ends up being short-term now. Greg said, would love to bring back, let's see here, would love to bring back Manana, likely going to get Manaya, likely going to get, where is this here? Likely going to get slightly better than the contract. Okay, going to take some prospects for Castillo. Don't want to give up our pitching prospects. Beatty can be valuable for a team that can give him consistent.
I'm not even talking about trading a guy like Sproat or Tidwell or those guys. Like I would be looking at your lower end prospects and like the bottom of your top 10. Like maybe, Drew Gilbert had a rough year in the minors this year. Maybe he's a guy you look at moving. They Nolan McLean is a guy that might be able to be moved in a trade like that. It depends. Like, I don't think you're making that move if they're asking for, Acuna or Jet Williams. Like, that's an absolute hard pass. You're not trading Sproat. You're not trading Tidwell. Vassell just got picked up in the Rule 5 draft, so he's gone. But there's other prospects that you can move. Maybe a team, maybe they would want like a big. Who knows? Maybe they want to do a package with Beatty, McGill, and a top, maybe a 15, 18th ranked prospect. Any sane Mets fan would probably take that, because you're basically getting, in their eyes, you're getting him for free, because they don't like Beatty and they don't like McGill. But I'd be afraid to trade McGill to Seattle, because I think Seattle's probably they're the quietest great pitching development organization in the league. No one thinks of Seattle being a great pitching organization, but they just keep rattling off these like great pitcher after great pitcher after great pitcher. Emerson Hancock, George Kirby, Luis Castillo revived his career out there. Logan Gilbert, like they've revitalized careers of guys. They've developed guys. Their pitching lab is really good. So is the Mets, but I could see McGill doing well out there. So it would scare me a little bit to trade McGill to Seattle. Especially considering what they did with Paul Sewald before the Diamondbacks got him. But I wouldn't want to give up any of those, bigger pitchers. Like Sproat would completely be off the table. If they asked for Sproat, I would hang up the phone.
Oh. We'll see what they end up doing. Speaking of pitching, the New York Yankees, who I thought definitely needed pitching for this upcoming season, especially in those innings from like 4 through 7, those helpers that can come in there and provide some relief. The Yankees have made some moves here in December. They traded catcher Carlos Nervais to Boston Red Sox for right-handed pitcher for Elmer Rodriguez Cruz and future considerations. So right-handed pitcher coming in to the Yankees, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, as well as the Milwaukee Brewers and the Yankees having a trade. Milwaukee Brewers traded right-handed pitcher Devin Williams to the Yankees for left-handed pitcher Nestor Cortez and second baseman Caleb Durbin. So that's where we're at right now. Looking at the Yankees, they're bringing in Devin Williams. They're bringing in Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. They're making moves on pitching, which is something that I think that
Don't
they
forget about Fried.
right, and actually, obviously getting to that one as well. So the moves that they've made up to this point for the Yankees, despite losing Juan Soto, making these plans for their pitching, which is something that I think that they've needed for a long time. And Max Fried, let's take a look at this. The signing bonus Yankees gave Max Fried in free agency. Looking at some of these different. Okay, so Max Fried on record 8-year, $218 million deal. This was announced back in early December, well, about a week, not even a week ago, back on December 10th. And so with Max Fried coming to the Yankees, 8-year, $218 million. Now, this was back when the team had no confirmation of this agreement. So the source is that it's happened, and Max Fried to over $200 million with the addition of pitching to the Yankees and the three guys that I named. Are the Yankees moving in the right direction, knowing that the middle innings of these games against the Dodgers in the World Series, there was no threat to the Dodgers. The Yankees got exposed. So is this what the Yankees need to do?
Well, I think the Yankees got exposed on defense. I mean, Aaron Judge has no business playing center field. So why they had him in center field, I think the Yankees fans saying that Soto is terrible in right field. I mean, yeah, he was. But at the same time, when you've got a guy in center field and Aaron Judge that has no business being a center fielder, you can't, Soto's just going to be worse out there. Judge needs to go back to right field where he belongs. They need to sign a center fielder. That's or trade for a center fielder. That's one of the things they need to do. The Fried signing makes sense. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball in the 2020s. It hasn't really worked out with Carlos Rodon, so they needed to bring somebody in as a number two behind Garrett Cole. I mean, that's a great 1-2 punch. It's going to be one of the best in baseball. I can tell you that right now. Fried, though, is not a strikeout pitcher. I mean, he gets strikeouts. He strikes out about one per inning, but he gets a lot of ground balls. He also gives up a lot of fly balls. So in that stadium, he could give up some homers, and we'll see. I like the move for Devin Williams. They didn't really have a true closer. I hate the move that he's going to have to shave and he's going to look like a child. Because if anybody that knows baseball knows that the Yankees fans or knows that the Yankees players have to be clean shaven or have a well kept mustache, as Nestor Cortez, who went back to the Brewers in that trade, has shown you. But I was shocked they moved Nestor Cortez in that deal. I think he became expendable when they signed Fried. I would look out for him to be a really good pitcher in Milwaukee. That's another team that does well at developing pitchers. The Yankees have been meh at developing pitchers. They're not developing relievers at all. But again, Williams, I believe, is a free agent next year, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that. I mean, that's another guy that they just traded for and had no guarantee he was going to be there next year. So another rental. But real quick, before, they got to actually, I'll get to this in a minute. I mean, to answer your main question, are the Yankees heading in the right direction? It'd be foolish of me not to say yes, because I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they needed Soto. However, in the postseason, Soto put that team on his back. Judge turned into a pumpkin in the playoffs. Aaron Judge is one of the worst postseason hitters in Yankees franchise history.
Don't you let him take that. Don't you let him take that from A-Rod.
Hey, listen, A-Rod was great in the 2009 World Series. A-Rod's a big reason why they won the World Series in 2009. A-Rod had his moments where he was rough.
He was also the 2 outs at bat, bottom of the ninth, walk away from the TV because it's going to be a strikeout. More often than not, it felt like.
Yeah, but Judge has been the same way. Judge has been the same
Judge
way
looked good
every year in the postseason for him.
Judge looked good until the end. I mean, he looked good, but Shohei looked good until the end too. I mean, Judge and Ohtani, both MVPs, both relatively disappeared in the World Series. The difference is
it wasn't even the World Series. Judge all postseason long was nowhere to be found.
But Freeman was the guy that, to me, he's the one that stepped up. He's the one we saw. He's
100%.
He's the one that in game one, walk off, send it
playing on a, I don't know what his issue was, a torn ligament or something wrong with his ankle or a bad ankle sprain for 5 weeks. You know, putting that team on his back in the Mets series and in the World Series.
Yeah.
100%. Freddie Freeman was the MVP of that postseason for them.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman, he stole the show, and he stole the show. I looked at my dad in game one of the World Series, and I was like,
I mean, Ohtani was still good.
It's moments like that.
He struggled in the World Series after that slide.
It's moments like that with Freddie Freeman, though, in game one, where you sit there and you think to yourself, teams that have moments like this typically win. When you see that home run and you see that moment, in my head, I'm like, I know it's game one, but this is what they show on Sports Illustrated's commercial. This is what they show with the commercial, we're going to Disney. Like this, these are the moments, and there's something that you feel in sports, especially me covering them and watching them my whole life, is a moment like Freeman's moment in game one made me sit here in my gut and say, yeah, the Dodgers are going to probably win this thing. And
I mean, it brought you back to when Kirk Gibson hit the home run in '88. I mean, Joe Davis literally called out Kirk Gibson as he hit the home run. Kirk Gibson had a hip issue in '88. He came out to pinch hit. Vince Scully makes the famous call that everybody's heard for 40 years. Joe Davis's call is going to be another one that you hear forever. Because again, a hobbled Freddie Freeman hits a walk-off grand slam, and you knew the writing was on the wall. You're right. The Dodgers, after that, there was no way they were losing the World Series. There was no chance. It was just a matter of how many games and would it get back to LA. And the answer was 5, and it did not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, in that matchup, we see what the Dodgers are. We see what they now are with the addition of Blake Snell. I don't know how the Dodgers have any more money left, but
it's over because they defer it all.
Yeah. So
they're going to sell the team, and whoever owns the team in 20 years is going to be on the hook for Ohtani's contract.
Yeah, Greg got sent a message in here. The Freddie Freeman Grand Slam walk-off ball sold in auction for $1.5 million. I think they underpaid.
Did
Greg.
It really?
I think they underpaid, Greg. I do think they. I mean, I think that's an underpayment. But by the way,
good for whoever caught that ball.
Back to the polls here. If you had to choose feet to the fire, you don't have to be a fan of either one. You just have to choose this morning and throughout this week. You can vote all week long, starting today, right now. If you had to choose feet to the fire, Yankees, Mets, who would you side with? Don't have to be a fan, just who would you side with? The Mets are still winning 60.9% to 39.1% going for the Yankees. You can vote in the poll on X at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Vote in it today. Have some fun with us here this morning. The Yankees, now, the thing that makes me confused here is that within the last 5 or 6 days, they're like, yeah, Max Fried signed. But they're like, sources, alleged, we think so. We think
he
it's
still
this
hasn't
money.
passed the physical yet.
Yeah.
It's not even official yet.
So it's an unofficial, alleged 8-year, $218 million. $1 million more. It's the largest contract ever in Major League Baseball history for a left-handed pitcher. It's $1 million more than David Price's 7-year contract with the Boston Red Sox. Keep in mind here.
Look how that turned out.
Yeah, and keep in mind here looking at this. Yankees fans upset after Soto accepted the 15-year, $765 million deal to join the Mets over the Yankees' alleged 16-year, $760 million. So the Yankees wanted one more year for $5 million less. Poor Juan Soto couldn't do that. That's not enough money. And so he decides to go there. The Yankees redirect themselves to going after pitching, which I think they needed to do. They brought in 2 pitchers already, and potentially, if it does go through, it's not official yet, that the Max Fried deal would make the Yankees add to their pitching even more. I am surprised with you that Nestor Cortez is gone as well. I thought you keep what you got and you add what you need. The Yankees got rid of some, brought in others. They have 2 that have already come in through trades, and now we'll see if this Max Fried deal officially goes through. In that case, as I said before, he will be the most expensive left-handed pitcher in the history of baseball. 8 years, $218 million. Now, keep in mind, offering Juan Soto $760 over a 16-year period, now they've freed up some capital here to go and get their pitching. I do think they need another hitter, potentially, but the Yankees definitely, without doubt, in my opinion, in that relief area. Here's your starting pitcher. You take him out after 3 or 4 innings, and then you got 4 through 7, 4 through 8 before you bring in your closer. That area, especially during that Dodgers series, to me was just...
I mean, if you're bringing in a reliever in the 4th inning, you're probably losing.
Yeah.
So that means your starter probably didn't pitch very well. So, you almost can't expect, like, you need middle relief guys. The kid they picked up from the Red Sox is probably going to make sense. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of him. So I don't know if he's any good. But, picking up Devin Williams is good, because if they bring Luke Weaver back, and I don't think he's a free agent. Let me check. I believe he is still... Yes, he's still a Yankee. Luke Weaver was great for them in the closer role. So now bringing in Devin Williams, who's arguably one of the best, probably one of the top 3 best closers in all of baseball, with what I would argue is the best pitch in baseball, is airbender changeup. That's going to be helpful, because now Luke Weaver moves down. So maybe he's pitching the 8th. I'm surprised they let Clay Holmes walk. I mean, Clay Holmes could have been a good guy to pitch the 7th. Right? I mean, you figure you need probably 4 or 5 high leverage guys, and then the rest of the guys can pitch, whenever. But, I mean, if you're bringing in a reliever in inning 4 or 5, usually in inning 3 or 4, the starter probably didn't do his job. Right? You're expected to get 5 to 6 innings out of your starting pitcher. Right? I mean, if you're doing a bullpen game, that's a different story. Right? I mean, you can do bullpen games like that, where the pitcher, starter goes 2 innings, and you go, an inning and go inning by inning. You're starting to see that more and more. The Dodgers won multiple playoff games with a bullpen game. So, the fact that they were able to do that speaks volumes about what you can do if you have a good bullpen. So I'm interested to see what how the Yankees continue to build out their pen, because ultimately I think, adding Devin Williams is huge, because now Luke Weaver is a high leverage guy that you can bring in whenever you want. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. The Yankees tend to have a good bullpen. They haven't in years past, so we'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, but somewhere within that, once they took the starter out, this team got lost. And they got lost against the Dodgers so clearly. Didn't matter what inning. And you also go back to Garrett Cole in that first game, and why did you take him out? He was playing so well. Why not just let him play it all the way through to the ends, and obviously to as far as
I think his pitch count was pretty high through 7.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think he was over 100 pitches.
Still, though, I mean, back in the day, you let guys go.
But it's the World Series.
You let guys go back in the day, and you could have had Game 1 back in the day as well as he was playing. So, to me, it's one of those things that purists don't like. Papa Joe's not a fan of this. Put a guy in, take a guy, put a guy in, starter for 3 innings, take him out. Put a guy in for 2.5, take him out. Put another guy in for 1 1/3, take him out. So I mean, they're
Rays, so protective of these guys now.
Right. And the Rays do it. I mean, the Rays obviously have found some hay in doing it, but
I mean, they were basically the inventors of the bullpen game.
Yeah, and
they invented the opener.
Right, and now we are in a place where the Yankees needed pitching. They got exposed, and hopefully, in their addressing of the fact
Dodgers exposed a lot
that
of teams.
The middle of their that whole pitching scenario.
Well, let me ask you this:
Dodgers took
do you
advantage
think
of
it
needs
was?
to change.
Do you think it was more so the Yankees got exposed, or the Dodgers are just that good?
Well, the Dodgers
or is
are
it some
good.
combination of both?
The Dodgers are really good, but the Yankees are in a place where, to me, when I watched those games, I watched the World Series, it was clear to me that the pitching staff that the Yankees have, especially after their starter goes out, who they're bringing in, those people that you utilize in the middle of a game toward the end of the game, they were just no match. And if the Dodgers have only gotten better, which arguably they have, and God willing, Shohei Ohtani's getting healthier, Yamamoto, you look at everything that they
maybe
have.
Even Roki Sasaki.
So you get those guys better. Those guys get healthier. Those guys get experience. They won a World Series. You have your hitters. You have your strength. You have an incredible defense. If the Yankees want to get back to where they were this past year, they can't get back there with the same pitching staff and beat a team that's only going to get stronger. So
they had 2 higher leverage relievers. They still only have 2 higher leverage relievers. So you're 100% right. They need middle relief guys. They need to go out and find, look at what the Dodgers did. Anthony Banda was a castaway from the Mets last year, and he's pitching high leverage innings in the postseason into the World Series. Blake Trinan's been a journeyman reliever who's their closer. Oh, God, I'm forgetting some of the other names. But the Dodgers, by the end of the year, had developed 4 or 5 high leverage relievers that you could bring in at any point. Not a lot of teams have that. The Yankees need that. They needed that in order to stay in that series, and they just didn't have it. Yeah. Because past Luke Weaver, Clay Holmes was only okay. They had nobody else that was of any relevance that could get high leverage outs in the World Series.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. But they need to try and find not necessarily just guys. They need to find the right guys.
Yeah.
Now, there's good relievers on the market right now. You can go get a couple decent relievers, but you got to pay them. That's probably where their advantage comes in, that they didn't pay Soto, because now you could spend $8-9 million on 2 or 3 different relievers each.
Well, that's where you are right now. I guess the Yankees, if they do improve their pitching, which I thought they needed to do from the moment that the World Series ended, go out and get some pitchers to help you there in the middle. To have that opportunity, I guess they can thank Juan Soto. Because Juan didn't sign, so now they got the money. Before we head to the break, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, Mike Norvell, a guy that I've known all of his time at Memphis and all of his time at Florida State. I think at this point we've known each other for a decade. Well, Mike Norvell, he has restructured his contract for what's called the Vision of Excellence. Let's talk about it. Florida State and head football coach Mike Norvell have agreed to a restructured contract that includes a $4.5 million contribution, so essentially donating money back from his contract, to help launch the Vision of Excellence initiative that was announced today. The Vision of Excellence over at Florida State is a fundraising campaign that seeks to immediately raise Florida State athletics to new heights of comprehensive excellence by setting ambitious goals for the future of the student-athlete experience, coaching, facilities, and fan engagement. This is from Mike Norvell. Quote, I presented this to our administration in an effort to boost the support of our student-athletes while recognizing that the results and expectations need to be upheld to the highest level. I wanted to be proactive in my financial assistance through this time of transition as we all push forward to get back to the standard of Florida State football. Great days are ahead, and I'm grateful to coach these players and lead this staff. We have been hard at work to uphold the tradition here at Florida State, and I believe this step will help accelerate the process to where I know we are going. End quote. My thoughts on this, Mike Norvell was given an option. Mike Norvell decided to donate. Maybe Mike Norvell's trying to get some financial assistance from the boosters out there, and maybe they said, well, we don't want to give that much. And then Mike said, what if I put money into it and I put my money where my mouth is? Then will you donate? I'm just looking at this outside looking in. I have not talked to Mike Norvell. I have access, but I have not spoken with Mike Norvell. I have not spoken with Florida State. I look at this and I say to myself, the team went 2-10. You have a restructured deal. You're giving up $4.5 million of your salary. It feels like Florida State said, we're getting some push, Mike. And Mike said, okay, well, what if I do this and give this money into this vision of excellence? I think it's maybe a push to get boosters to get excited. Maybe it's to light a fire under their butt. Maybe it's to save Mike Norvell's job. Maybe it's both. Whatever it may be, when have you heard of a coach saying, I'm going to put money in to this vision of excellence, whatever you want to call it? It feels like a collective. It feels like a bank account. But a coach giving money back to the tunes of millions to start something that is very vague in its terminology, that's supposed to improve the experience for student athletes, which ultimately just makes me feel like we're putting money into the collective, and maybe the 2-10 season has not gotten a lot of money into the collective. So maybe this is Mike's way of trying to invigorate the fan base and the boosters to spend money. That's what it feels like to me. Knee-jerk reaction. What's your thoughts?
I think this is a way to buy players. I hate to say that, but literally, you're seeing it in college football. Michigan just bought the number one quarterback recruit away from LSU for $12 million. Florida is losing a kid to the transfer portal because he wanted guarantees that he'd get $45,000 salary, a guaranteed starting spot at outside linebacker. And it's like, no, like, go away, dude. We don't want you. NIL has ruined college football, has ruined college athletics. And we can get it. We can have a whole debate on this later. Don't get me wrong. These kids deserve to be paid for their name, image, and likeness. These kids get, an opportunity to go sign autographs and make a little money. Good, go for it. No, nothing wrong with that. They get, obviously some have some of them have been social media influencers, right? There's a golfer, there's a kicker that used to play for UCF that was given an ultimatum by the NCAA. He either has to give up making money on YouTube or he can't play.
Yeah. And
he decided not to play. And it's worked out for him to his advantage. So good for him. Same with the golfer. I think he was Division II, Garrett was, and now he's a part of one of the biggest golf YouTube channels in the world. And he makes a bunch of money for himself. He does great for himself. These kids should be able to make money their own way based on their name, image, and likeness and using some college stuff. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Seeing what some of these TikTokers are doing now, good for them. They should be able to do that. But at the same time, teams should not be able to buy players through NIL. The kid that's going to Michigan now, and he was committed to LSU. Now he's going to make $12 million at Michigan. That's not okay. Why do you think Saban got out? Saban did things the right way. Kids came to Alabama because they wanted to go to Alabama. They wanted to play for Nick Saban. Nothing against Kalen DeBoer at Bama now, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And even with Saban his last couple of years, guys didn't have the desire to go to Alabama the same way they used to because they're not getting paid. These guys want to go get paid. Before, you had to go to the NFL to get paid. What was the best way to get to the NFL? By going to Alabama. Alabama had more guys drafted. I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Alabama had more guys drafted than any other program in college football. And if I'm wrong, I'm shocked. Actually, that's probably something we can look up right here. I would not be shocked if that's an accurate statement. If it's not, I apologize. But that used to be one of the best ways to get to the NFL and make money, was to go to Alabama, was to go to LSU, was to go to Texas, was to go to Georgia, was to go to Ohio State or Penn State, because they are a breeding ground for the NFL. They get so many kids drafted year in and year out that these guys are able to go to the NFL and make money. Now they're making money in college. They don't care about going to the NFL. That is why I think, and we can talk about it later, and I'm sure, that is why I think the Bill Belichick to North Carolina signing for the coach is really interesting, because he's not going to put up with the NIL crap.
Yeah.
He's not. He wants to make, from what he said, he wants to make North Carolina basically a place for players to develop into NFL talent. It almost sounds like he doesn't necessarily care about winning a national championship, which, is time when you have guys like that are coming in because they want to develop into NFL players. You could stumble into a national championship. They could become an ACC powerhouse in a couple of years.
Yeah, kids
will want to play for Bill Belichick. If they don't care about the money and they just want to get better and fulfill their dreams of playing the NFL, go to North Carolina. Go play for Bill. He's going to run it like an NFL franchise. Yeah. And I hope he does. And I'd love to see them succeed. I'm sure.
So I'm verifying through a couple different sources to make sure that this is okay. All right. So, looking at 3 different places, I wanted to get the most updated information, and the most updated information states that historically, I'm going to give you from 10 to 1. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the top 10 colleges with the most players drafted to the NFL: 10, Florida with 373. Georgia with 379 is number 9. LSU with 381 is number 8. Number 7 is Penn State with 389. Number 6 is Alabama with 411.
Okay, I was wrong.
Number 5 is Michigan with 415. Number 4 is Oklahoma with 417. And then there's a giant jump. Number 3 is Ohio State with 489. Number 2 is USC with 530. And with the most players up to this point currently drafted to the NFL historically, Notre Dame,
all time.
532 for Notre Dame. By the way, folks,
I wonder what it is in like the last 10 years or last 15 years since Saban's been there.
I mean,
because I know Alabama has the most first-round picks over the last 10 years.
Alabama's had a bunch. Michigan recently had a bunch go. Georgia had that. What do they have? They had 9 players draft, or did they have, was it 9 that was early? But I know that in Syracuse, by the way, 202 put Syracuse in the top 50 for those of you Syracuse fans that are watching and listening here. Crazy. This thing goes like all the way down to teams that had 3. Hobart had 3. Fayetteville State, Emory, and Henry. I'm looking at all of these that have had a few. Air Force has had 10, when those of you are looking at the military academies. And we're going to talk about the military academies. Navy's had 18 drafted all time. I want to see, Army has had 26. So Army's had the most of the military academies drafted to the NFL. Cornell, not too far away from Syracuse, 33 drafted. Wichita State, when they had a football team, shout out Ted Lasso, Wichita State had 36 drafted in their history.
When did they get rid of their football program?
When Ted Lasso started filming on television. So with that being said, we are going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, we're going to talk about Army Navy, since we brought that up here. And we got some thoughts coming in. I just want to get to a couple things here. Greg said kids will stay in college longer. LOL, at least play college football longer with all this money. Jerry said, and they still won't get a degree. Army loses Kanye Udo to the portal. That hurts. And Kanye Udo was on the broadcast here on Wake Up Call, and I had talked about the fact that being in a military academy, you don't have to worry about NIL and the transfer portal. Well, Kanye doing something that you don't see get done a lot, which is because when you join the Army or the Air Force or the Navy, you're making a commitment to service. Well, Kanye made a commitment to Army and is in the transfer portal. And this could be a dangerous precedent because leaving Army means leaving the team, but it also means leaving the commitment to service.
And now he's got to pay. And now he's got to pay for what he was there for the first couple of years.
So
I'm pretty sure
Kanye Udo, running back, right after the Army-Navy game, decides to leave. We'll speak about Army-Navy when we spin back around here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I was there on site, on location, of a game that I've loved to watch from afar. Well, this time around, I was in D.C. for something that I call DT in D.C. We'll discuss that right after this on Wake Up Call, where sports meets life. Stay with us. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We got some awesome things coming up for you this week. I cannot wait for all the conversations that are going to be had on Wake Up Call this week. So make sure you stay tuned to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. And by the way, if you go to our website, and I'm gonna put it on the feed right now, the many feeds that we have. But if you go to our store, our Dan Tortora Broadcast Media store from East Coast Specialties, it says mic'd up, geared up. You can go to our store by going to ecspecialties.tuosystems.com. That's ecspecialties.tuosystems.com. What'd you say?
You have a visitor?
I do. Yeah,
Did Lily make her way into the room?
Yeah, Lily decided to. Yeah, my office and my studio, folks, are connected. My dog, when she opens the door, she opens it like a 300-pound man. So
it nudges her head.
yeah. So she literally pushes the door with her body, and so some shows you'll see the door fly open, and that is because this 10-pound monster can hit a door like she is a sumo wrestler. So good morning. Oh, good.
Oh, somebody's tired.
Very good morning to you. How are you? What do you think? What do you think? The Army-Navy game? She said, I missed my daddy. That's what I think. So the Army-Navy game happens, and I'm going to go through the scoring plays. By the way, folks, you can go to wakeupcalldt.com, and please do that this morning. Check out the website. Of course, you can directly go there by going to wakeupcalldt.wixsite.com. You can go there as well. So to see Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and all the content that we have. So if you go to wakeupcalldt.com here this morning, you will go right to our website and you'll have the opportunity to read our article. And that article I wrote, Midshipmen Turn the Tide on Black Knights in American Spotlight. I'm not going to read the whole game recap. I'm going to tell you what happened on the scoring drives. And then I'm going to read the end of what I wrote for you. And I'd love for you to go read the whole story here this morning. Now, let's take a look at the scoring plays that we had. Navy got out first in the first quarter when Blake Horvath had a 1-yard run to go up 7-0 with 8:56 left in the first quarter. In the second, there were 2 scores. Navy got their second touchdown of the game in the second quarter when Chapman caught an 18-yard pass from Horvath, and Brandon Chapman takes it in for a touchdown there to make it 14-0. Army scores with 6:29 remaining on a 23-yard pass. It was an awesome play by Bryson Daly, who should have been higher than number 6 in the Heisman. Let's face it, people love Ashton Genty, and Ashton Genty had 29 rushing touchdowns going in to the Heisman Trophy choice. Bryson Daly, 29 touchdowns going into the Heisman Trophy choice. So just let it be known that if you love Ashton Genty, you can also love the fact that if one guy's got 29, the other guy's got 29 as well. Bryson should have been higher. And by the way, Kyle McCord should have absolutely been higher than Cam Ward. Cam Ward was a finalist in the top 4. And Kyle McCord made the top 10 at number 10. Did they not play each other head-to-head? Did Kyle not beat him head-to-head? And did Kyle not have more yards?
You and I know what I think about Cam Ward. I am not a fan.
But the thing that's crazy is Kyle McCord, head-to-head, beat him in a game. Head-to-head, knocked him out of the college football playoff. Head-to-head, knocked him out of the ACC championship. Head-to-head is the number 1 quarterback in the nation of 130-plus FBS schools in passing yards. So if Cam Ward is second to Kyle McCord, why is he first to him when it comes to being a finalist in the rankings of the Heisman Trophy? Stupidity, in my opinion. No offense to Cam Ward whatsoever. I would have said that about anybody that was number 2, is that if Kyle McCord is better than you statistically, how is Kyle McCord not in New York City but you are? That don't make no sense.
I mean, I guess interceptions, but really that doesn't separate you.
Well, and you also look at the fact of common opponents. They had to, Cal almost beat Miami. Miami had to come all the way back at Cal to win 39-38. Syracuse goes to Cal and wins by double figures. So, I mean,
can I just point out that Miami's just not good?
But you look at the head-to-head. Just look at the head-to-head. That's what beats everything. Is when you
I'm
put
with
them.
you. I'm with you, dude.
You put it up.
Syracuse beat them head to head.
Right. Syracuse beat them head-to-head.
Fairly
Statistically,
convincingly too.
Right. Syracuse
At
beat them
the Dome.
head-to-head. Statistically, they beat you head-to-head. They beat common opponents. Kyle McCord was better than Cam Ward. Against each other, Kyle McCord was better than Cam Ward. Statistically speaking, nationally, Kyle McCord is better than Cam Ward. But Cam Ward was a finalist, and Kyle was 6 spots below him, barely making the Heisman top 10.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Blasphemy, folks. That is wrong. Okay?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm glad he got at least some recognition and got some Heisman votes.
Yeah.
But arguably, I don't see any of these potential first-round quarterbacks that are going to get picked.
Yeah.
Ward, Sanders, Quinn Ewers, maybe. I don't see any of those guys being good in the NFL. The guys I could potentially see that are sleepers that are probably going to get picked on day 2 or day 3, Kyle McCord and Drew Aller from Penn State.
Yeah.
Watch those 2 guys. Mark my words, they are going to be 2 dark horses in this draft. If you're a team that's got an aging quarterback, you want one of these 2 guys on your team. Look at maybe, I'm trying to think of, because Atlanta just drafted somebody. I'm trying to think of teams that might make sense. I mean, Jets, but I still want them to let Jordan Travis, give him a chance. I wouldn't necessarily hate them taking any of those guys.
Yeah.
Minnesota just took McCarthy. The Rams would make perfect sense for one of those guys. The Seahawks would make sense. The Steelers would make sense.
Yeah.
You can get one of these guys. I would think McCord probably goes in round 3 would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a bargain for any team that gets him.
He'll make an NFL roster.
100%.
In my opinion, for sure. You always need a backup, and you need a backup to the backup. By the way, I put our link here on Facebook, going to put it on YouTube as well. Support this show, Wake Up Call, and all of our shows by going to our EC Specialties store. That's the ECS, East Coast Specialties. Love everything that they do. ECS, awesome place. Been good to us for many, many years. Go and support our show and support all of the shows that we have by going to our mic'd up, geared up store. That store is live. You can go there and get yourself a Christmas gift, a holiday gift. You can get some gifts for your loved ones. Make sure you go there and support today. Appreciate y'all so very much. For those of you that have done that, and for those of you that have bought from the store, I cannot thank you enough. So make sure that you do that here today, as I am putting up the link right now onto our YouTube channel as well, so that you can do it there. So letting you all know that you can support us, and of course I'll put it up on our social media. So support this show of Wake Up Call and all of our shows in Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's family by going to our EC Specialties store that is live for you to purchase from today, and of course for your Christmas and holiday shopping. With that being said, McCord, I do believe, is going to make a roster. I'm not worried about that, and definitely excited for what that's going to be for him. I do want to get to the Army-Navy game, so I'll go back to what we were talking about here. And again, it's no offense whatsoever to Cam Ward. It's just head-to-head, Kyle McCord should have been in New York City. Head-to-head, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
should he have won the award? No. I mean, I would have voted for Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty ahead of him, maybe even Shedeur Sanders. But still. Yeah, I mean.
And it was interesting because
he was better than Cam Ward.
Right, and I get to vote in a lot of these. You know, I get to vote for Coach of the Year. I get to vote for Player of the Year. I get to vote for Defensive Player of the Year, as well as I'm voting for offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback, linebackers, as well as specialists and defensive backs. So I'm voting all throughout college football. I have the pleasure, the honor, And by the grace of God and by these wonderful committees, I'm able to vote. And so I'm voting for these awards. I'm voting for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year. And I've put in my votes for the Maxwell Award, and definitely have put in some voting here for Ashton Genty, a hair above Travis Hunter. Outside of the Heisman, I did put Ashton Genty ahead of him in voting here, because I can vote for Player of the Year, which is overall, which I voted for Ashton Genty, and I'll let everybody know now. And I can vote for Defensive Player of the Year, which I voted for Travis Hunter. So I found a world where I could vote for both, because I wasn't going to leave Genty out of it, and I wanted Travis Hunter to get his flowers as well. So, by the way, love Travis Hunter's speech for the Heisman. Love his speech, his conversation to his dad, his conversation about his mom, his journey, his come up, his embrace with Deion Sanders, and his embrace of talking about God. And by the way, who was out there supporting Travis Hunter? My man, Wheezy.
I walk light so I don't piss the ground off.
I love it. I love that Wheezy was out there. So shout out to Wheeze for being a part of it. What were you going to say, Murph?
I will say this. Travis Hunter is a great player. He is the Shohei Ohtani of football right now.
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to do it both in the NFL? Probably not, but we'll see. Ashton Genty got robbed. Ashton Genty had the best season for a running back in the history of college football.
Yep.
He is less than 200 yards away from breaking the rushing yards record.
Barry Sanders,
he had almost 30 touchdowns. He's going to end up he's finished the season with more. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. And it's because he went to Boise State. So what? A Boise State running back can't win the Heisman?
Travis Hunter went
He
to
lost
Colorado.
to Oregon by 3.
Travis Hunter went to
He ran
Colorado.
for 200 yards and three touchdowns against Oregon.
Colorado is far worse historically than Boise State.
I know.
Far worse.
But here's my other argument, and we'll get back to Army Navy. I know we'll get back to Army Navy in a second. I just have to point this out. You want to give Travis Hunter credit for doing both? Go for it. Ashton Genty was the best player at his position, arguably the best player, period, in all of college football this past season. The ability to play both sides of the ball for Travis Hunter at a high level is something that, deserves credit. Credit where credit's due. But it's not like you were out there saying he's the best wide receiver and the best corner.
Right.
He had a slightly above average season for a wide receiver and a slightly above average season for a corner. Was he great at either? Maybe. Not really. Ashton Genty was so good that the number one team in football, whose defense has been outstanding all season long, couldn't hold him on under 200 yards.
Yeah.
That game alone, and looking at the rest of his stats, that game alone should have won him the Heisman. You compare his Heisman season to Reggie Bush's Heisman season, Reggie Bush would have finished 10th this year if that was the case. Ashton Genty got robbed. He was the best player in college football by a mile. I hope he gets paid, and I hope he's a dog in the NFL, and I know he's going to be. He's going to be the next Derrick Henry in the NFL, mark my words. But he got robbed. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. Travis Hunter, you're great, but you did not deserve the Heisman Trophy. Not even close. It should have been unanimous for Genty.
And by the way, if I'm correct in what I heard, the differential of votes between Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman, and second place, the runner-up Ashton Genty, was the smallest margin of victory ever.
Yeah.
So that says something there. By the way, he won the popular vote, Ashton Genty. For the Heisman.
Because America understands that he deserved the Heisman.
Yeah, he did win the popular vote. So,
and he's gonna win He's gonna win most outstanding player in college. That's the Maxwell Award, right?
Yeah, that's the one I voted for. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to win that. Usually the guy that wins the Heisman Trophy wins that.
Well, yeah. And the defensive player, I think it's the Chuck Bednarik Award, that's the one where I voted for Travis Hunter. Because
And that's fair.
Because you could vote for him within that. Now, and still, I mean, the guys that he was up against, it's not like you don't see some of those names come up in my other voting as well, because I was trying to get everybody their flowers to the best of my ability, because it's hard when, I mean, it's
Did
a
you
good
vote for Kyle McCord for best QB?
No.
Because I wouldn't shock me, and I think you'd be right.
Wait. Did I vote for Kyle McCord for best quarter? Did I only get to vote for one quarterback? I don't know why I said no in that knee jerk. Kyle McCord for quarterback. Yeah, because he led the country in yard. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you.
Didn't he lead the country in yards and touchdowns?
I will tell. So he set 2 records for Syracuse all time, and then he led the country in yards. I will tell you. Hold on. I'll tell you right now because I have my. See, this is one of the things that the media will only tell you if they get it right. But I actually save my ballots for everything, and if I'm wrong or I'm right, I still save them. So let me see here. I want to make sure I bring up the right poll here because there's a bunch of different ones, and we had to vote in 2 pieces for some of these. So and that's defense. Let's see here. That's offensive line.
He was 5th in touchdowns.
Yeah.
And led the nation in passing yards. Sure, he had 12 interceptions, but Cam Ward had 7. Shedeur Sanders had 8. Jackson Dart, who had arguably the best season out of the quarterbacks in the SEC, had 6. Nussmeier from LSU had 11. Dylan Gabriel had 6 interceptions. Carson Beck had 12 interceptions. Like, you could say interceptions all you want.
Yeah.
But 4,300 passing yards in 12 games and 29 touchdowns is damn good.
Yeah. I did. So I voted Kyle McCord as my quarterback. Yeah. So inside of, let me tell you exactly what this was.
As you should.
So this is the All-America ballots. And so, by the way, people talk about Travis Hunter. Teteroa McMillan, who I have the autograph of from Arizona, I voted him and Travis as my wide receivers. I mean, I could put any of these up.
Is McMillan going to be like the top receiver in the draft?
Could be.
Forgetting Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I mean,
because I've been asked questions about that at card shows, and I have no idea.
Travis Hunter, it depends on where people want him to be and how if they see him like Deion Sanders. But Teteroa McMillan, I would imagine he could be a top 4, maybe a top 10. If not a top 4. Running backs, R.J. Harvey of UCF, I put with Ashton Genty. Quarterback, I have Kyle McCord. I mean, I got everything here, as well as the Eddie Robinson Award in the coaches that I voted for who could end up winning this thing. And then once things get like deeper into it, some of us send us like, here are our finalists. So this is who you could choose for your finalists. By the way, if he doesn't win the Heisman, should have won the Davey O'Brien Award, which goes to the top quarterback in the country. I would have voted for Kyle McCord. But in my All-America ballot, I can pick one quarterback. I chose Kyle McCord. So let the record show that, Kyle. If you're listening and you're watching, I will talk to you very soon, and I will see you in San Diego because your boy, by the grace of God, will be flying out the farthest I've ever been to the West Coast, as I will take a trip out to San Diego.
Spend a couple days out there and enjoy it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be out there for a minute.
I don't particularly have any desire to go to California, but from what I have heard, San Diego is gorgeous.
San Diego's utopia. San Diego is the perfect weather. They're like it's 75 and sunny all the time. So going out to San Diego. Put a poll up, folks. Go and vote in this one on X. Keep voting in the Yankees-Mets poll. Feet to the fire. You don't have to be a fan of either. Who would you pick if you had to choose? Mets or the Yankees? Next poll we're putting up right now, and here it goes on X at CallDT, CALLDT. I'm about to hit the button. If you had a vote, who would you have picked to win the Heisman Trophy for the 2024-25 season? Ashton Genty or Travis Hunter? You can vote in that poll right now. So make sure you vote in that poll right here this morning. If you had a vote in the Heisman, would you vote for Ashton Jeanty or Travis Hunter? Travis Hunter ends up winning it over Ashton Jeanty by the smallest margin of victory ever for Heisman voting. My question now goes to you. I want to know what you say, the fans out there around the world that are watching and listening. If you had a vote for the Heisman this year, would you pick Ashton Jeanty or would you pick Travis Hunter? Murph just voted.
Ashton Jeanty. I just voted. I'm the first vote, 100%.
Yeah,
Ashton Jeanty.
I knew as soon as I put it out and I saw you pick up your phone, I'm like, Murph is voting right now.
Of course I did.
So I appreciate the vote. So yes, and if anybody,
I mean,
wants,
y'all already know what I just gave you the case for Ashton Jeanty.
Well, and I'm gonna give you the numbers here. He's played 3 seasons, all for Boise State. Didn't leave in the transfer portal to go seek more money and go anywhere else. Came back to Boise State. Came back to the family there in Idaho. In 2022, he carried the ball 156 times. That's in his first season. How many running backs carry the ball over 150 times?
Did he redshirt?
So
or is he true junior?
He's down as a junior here. I'll check his.
I don't know if he's a redshirt or not.
I'll check his actual thing here right now. But Ashton Jeanty, yeah, because he's not going to get he doesn't get the COVID weird rule stuff because he didn't come in then. So Ashton Jeanty is considered a. Is this one going to tell me? It says
junior, so I'm going to guess he's a true junior.
It says junior here, but let me just make one more. Yeah, he's a true junior.
He just turned 21.
Yeah, he's a
true junior.
So Ashton Jeanty, 2022 is his first season in college. How many running backs in their first season in the FBS are out there running the ball over 150 times? 156 carries, 821 yards as a rookie of college, 5.3 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, would you say?
As a freshman, yeah.
His second year, sophomore year, 2023, he went from 156 carries to 220 and went from 821 yards to 1,347, 5.3 yards a carry to 6.1, 7 touchdowns, doubles the 14 rushing. This season, from 220 to 344 carries, over 1,100 yards more this season with 2,497 at the time we're speaking. From 5.1 to 6.1 to this season, 7.3 yards a carry. At one point this season, a few games in, he was averaging 9.9 yards a carry, which is basically averaging a first down every time he touches the ball. From 7 to 14 to 29 rushing touchdowns this season. The man has doubled his touchdown rushing output, at least doubled, every single year. From 7 to 14 to 29. Dude is a beast. He is on his way to breaking Barry Sanders' most rushing yards in a single season. You talk about the 2,500-yard club for a guy who's been in college football for his career. This dude's about to hit 2,500 when he gets a 3-yard carry in his next game.
Which is probably going to be his first run against Penn State.
Which is in the college football playoff, my friends. So what a beautiful thing it is. All the votes early on are for Ashton Jeanty, by the way. And so,
as they should be, because America knows. It's a popularity contest.
America's voting here. So let's see what Greg had to say about what we're talking. No player like Hunter. No player plays both sides of the ball at NFL level. Hunter will be a top 5 pick. I don't disagree. Boise State played 4 teams above 500. Hey, brother, this is how I look at it. If you're going to love the Big Ten for running all over and throwing all over and intercepting all over the teams that aren't ranked, give the man his flowers. I don't care about ranked or unranked because the Big Ten don't care about unranked or ranked. Just like the playoff teams, the voters get both correct since 2009. Here we go. So he said, I doubt Jeanty will be a top 5 pick. Very rare running backs go that high. He will likely go mid-first round. And here's
here's what I had to say about that. I apologize for cutting you off for reading that out. Yeah. If you remember how good Saquon was at Penn State, Ashton Jeanty's on another level.
Oh, yeah.
And Saquon went 2nd overall.
Well, I'm going to put it to you like this. Ashton Genty.
If Dallas picks in the top 5, which is not outside their own possibility, even though they just got their 4th win, they would pick. Dallas seems like that's the team that's going to pick him. No matter where they pick, if he's still on the board.
Dallas is too stupid to pick him. And by too stupid, I mean Jerry Jones, let someone else make a decision in the building, my friend. Please. Let somebody else make a decision.
No, don't. I love watching the Cowboys
lose.
lose.
Let a janitor make a decision in the building. My grandfather was a business owner.
No. Don't do that, because that means the Cowboys will keep losing, and America will be happy.
My grandfather was a business owner and a janitor. He said his favorite job was being a janitor because he got to be around the kids, and he got to impart some knowledge with them and obviously spend time with them. Jerry, it would behoove you to spend some time with your janitors because they've been watching these games and they might know a little bit more about a thing or two, just so you know. Ashton Genty, here is my thought to make me a happy man. The Jacksonville Jaguars are, to some, the worst team in football. I would say it's the Tennessee Titans. They beat them head-to-head. The Jacksonville Jaguars...
I would disagree. The Jags looked decent yesterday.
Yeah, so they're one of the 5
with Mac
worst
Jones
teams.
at quarterback.
They're one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL, okay? The Jacksonville Jaguars, top 5 pick. Here's my argument. Jaguars, top 5, trade down, don't need a quarterback. Guess what? Get in the middle part of the first round. Trade down a little bit. Trade to the teens. Trade to 15 or 14, somewhere around there. And draft Ashton Genty while everybody lets running backs go and think, these running backs, they don't need to draft them high.
He won't make it that far. There's no way.
If they trade down.
I could see them trading down. It makes all the sense in the world.
Where is he from?
He's from Florida, isn't he?
Jacksonville,
Florida. Jacksonville, Florida.
He's from Jacksonville. So if Ashton, mark my words right now, I will say this, okay? I will put my hand up and solemnly swear. If Ashton Genty becomes a Jacksonville Jaguar, I will buy a Genty jersey at the first opportunity that I have. Ashton Genty.
A real one or the fake ones that I get?
Whatever looks real and costs less. So
the Chinese ones that I get.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying right here. Ashton Genty, come home, baby. We miss you. Come home. It's okay to come back home. Ashton Genty,
you want to know something?
A phenomenal player.
Even if the Jags are in the top 5, I would pick him there. If you want him, I'd pick him there. I wouldn't even trade down. I mean, unless someone's giving you the sun and the moon and the stars to come up and get Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, I'd stay and pick him. Because what is it? I want to know the draft order. You know what the draft order is as of now? Hang on.
Jaguars were first.
I don't think they are anymore.
So the NFL draft order.
All right. This is as of
4 hours ago.
As of this morning.
Okay.
Giants 1, Raiders 2, Patriots 3, Jags 4, Carolina 5.
All right. So this one's got
Giants, Raiders are going quarterback. So Sanders and Ward will be gone. New England is not going to go quarterback. They may trade down in case somebody wants another. But what other quarterback's going to go in the top 5? I mean, Quinn Ewers? No. Quinn Ewers stinks. I mean, I would be worried about New England taking him, but they got Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if they would take him, but I don't know. It's
Carolina will take him and then trade him in a few years.
I'm telling you, dude, if I'm Jacksonville and I'm there at 4 and he's sitting there, I would take him. I would not risk trading unless it's Tennessee and you're only going down 2 spots.
Oh. Well, Tennessee could still take him. Tennessee's running attack is not in good shape right now.
True. I mean, without Derrick Henry, that sucks for them.
The Cleveland Browns could take him with all the injuries that they've had.
Yeah, Nick Chubb broke his ankle,
and
or
they don't
like
have
that?
Kareem Hunt anymore. So
I'm telling you, dude, if he's there at 4, I wouldn't hesitate. I would just go run up to the podium and submit the card.
I honestly think that if the Jaguars don't take them and take Ashton Genty and draft after the Titans, the Browns, and the Saints, as well as the Cowboys.
I don't think you need to worry about the Jets. I don't think you need to worry about the Bears.
No, the Jets have their guys. The Bears
The Jets have their
somebody.
guys. The Bears have their
Bengals
guys.
have Chase Brown, which everybody forgot about, but I did not. So it really comes down to Tennessee, Cleveland, New Orleans, Dallas, which are all drafting in the top 12.
Yeah, I seriously don't think he'd make it past Cleveland.
I don't think he
So
makes it past Cleveland.
I honestly-
Cleveland's been known to take running backs, so.
I don't think he'd make it past the Browns. And honestly, that's the worst place for him to go. The Browns are the most dysfunctional organization in all of football. They got a rapist. They traded 3 first-round picks for a rapist quarterback, signed him to the richest deal or most guaranteed money for a quarterback in NFL history, and he's been terrible.
How many shows did we go on DT and Murphy here on Wake Up Call before Brendan Murphy officially called Deshaun Watson a rapist? How many shows did we go?
Why did he get sued 25 times?
It's still going on.
And it's still going on.
It's still going on. Now, granted,
some
people are
is
opportunistic
a
in these
dirtbag.
worlds. Some people
He should be in prison.
But, well, we know that NFL players don't go to prison until at least they're done playing.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know. But
yeah.
like I said, if I'm Jacksonville, I think you're foolish if you don't take him at 4. Assuming everything stands as I don't see the Giants win another game. I don't see Vegas winning another game. Actually, Vegas, I believe, would get the number 1 pick.
Vegas has the number 1 pick, and what I'm looking at right now has Jacksonville at 5. But Carolina, I don't think is going to take him. I honestly think
it's strength of schedule.
Well, they got him at 4 hours ago. They have Carolina.
I mean, realistically, if the Giants or Raiders win another game, New England's going to be picking first. Anyway, if both of them win another game, New England's picking first.
And if New England picks first, don't be surprised if they pick Travis Hunter.
It wouldn't shock me. I think they would pick him at 3. I think they would pick him at 1.
Don't be surprised if the Raiders do it.
Well, either that. Well, I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't put it past the Raiders to do something like that.
The Raiders would.
The Raiders are a team that's stupid enough to do that over a quarterback because they desperately need a quarterback. They have nobody.
They've started 3 quarterbacks this season,
and everybody. Didn't O'Connell just get hurt? So they've
all been on rotation. So they had Gardner.
Desmond Ridder is playing quarterback for them.
They had Gardner Minshew the second started, then Aiden O'Connell, then Desmond Ridder, then Aiden O'Connell, then Gardner at some point. So they've literally rotated through injuries and through this guy's going to get a shot, that guy's going to get a shot. So the irony is that I have covered 100% of those guys. I covered Gardner Minshew. So I've covered East Carolina, and he transferred out of there to Washington State. And I covered him in Jacksonville. And then I covered Aiden O'Connell when he went up against Syracuse when Purdue came to the Dome. And I covered Desmond Ridder for years at Cincinnati, including in the college football playoff. So, and when they won their only AAC championship, which was his last season there. So, pretty cool. But we shall see here what's going to happen. Getting back to Army-Navy here quick. Army-Navy going back to the game. Hayden Reed, Bryson Daly utilizing the fact that people think he's going to run. He faked the run, dropped back, and tossed the ball over top to Hayden Reed, his running back, for a 23-yard touchdown. Made it 14-7 at the half. In the third quarter, Granat had a 39-yard field goal that gave Army a score. Made it 14-10. They were the first to score out of the break. They were also the first to possess the ball. Navy's first possession ends with Heidenreich getting a 52-yard pass from Blake Horvath. He caught the ball, and number 22 was wider than wide open. 21-10. By the way, flip it, it's my birthday. Keep in mind, my grandfather on my mom's side, Papa Cavino, in the Navy, my Pop Miller, my Grandpa Tortora, in the Army. So keep in mind how important this game is to me. My birthday is 10/21. That was the score with 6:34 left in the third quarter. Then Granat got another field goal for Army, 31-yard field goal, made it 21-13. 21's my number, 13's my Papa Cavino's number. Together, I see them all the time. Keep that in mind because he is in the Navy once again. Then Horvath gets a 1-yard touchdown run after they said that his first time at it was not a touchdown. 28-13 there. And Navy gets a 27-yard field goal from Nathan Kirkwood to end the game 31-13. Navy wins. My grandfather, a Navy vet from World War II.
Go Navy.
His number 13. 13 is Army score. 31 is Navy score. Flip 31, and you have the inverse of 13. So the game won with 31-13. My grandfather's score forward and backward, who served in the Navy in World War II. All too fitting for Pop and for both of my grandfathers to celebrate this. This is what I wrote at the end of the game. Please go and read the story in its entirety on wakeupcalldt.com. You'll see it on the homepage as well as on the paper trail articles page. I'm going to read from here. Regardless of whoever won this game, America is the true winner. When you look to the people on this field, as well as the men and women overall that represent the Army, Navy, and all of our military. As a proud grandson and grandnephew of incredible family members that served in the Army, Navy, and throughout the military, this moment is and will always be special to me. To be here representing my family, here in honor of my grandfathers and great uncles who are watching from heaven today as I chase my own dreams. Dreams that are aided by those who fight for all of us to have the freedom to be who we want to be and do what we want to do. This was a moment of emotion for me as I look at the sons and daughters throughout the stadium that are living their lives in service to others. On days like this, I am reminded America is still beautiful, still strong, still proud, still free. On days like this, I stop and reflect. On days like this, I see the heart of Jesus. Real and beating, true and free for all the world to see. We'll take a step aside, and we'll be back. Army should have been in the college football playoff. I'm going to talk about it when we come back. I'm angry.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so Now, I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. It's time to talk about something that I had an immediate reaction to when it happened. I was down in Florida. We broadcasted live from Orlando after the College Football Playoff Committee made their decision on who was going to make it in. Now, I want to let you know that, in my opinion, the College Football Playoff Committee did a pretty good job. They definitely had some good things that they chose here. And I'm not mad at how they went about certain things because I understand. Let me give you a little background. So I'm going to bring it up here on my phone and take a look at this College Football Playoff once again. This is what it looks like, folks. If you want to see it, let it sink into you. So there are the teams that have made it. This is what it looks like all the way to the end. The number 1 seed, Oregon, they're the only undefeated team in the FBS. I'm cool with that. The number 2 seeded Georgia, in my brain they had 3 losses. I don't know. I thought they did. But Georgia beating Texas. Texas had the 2 spot. The only team to beat Texas this year is Georgia. They beat them twice. So Georgia taking Texas's spot, I agree with wholeheartedly. The 3 spot is something I predicted. And why I predicted Oregon as well. The 3 spot, I said, if SMU loses in the ACC championship, Boise State will be the 3 seed, the winner of the Mountain West. And they got it. The 4 seed is the team that they had predicted lower originally. And that's the Big 12 champion, Arizona State. But why did Arizona State get the last automatic bid that has a bye, which is the top 4 seeds? Why didn't they get the 5th? Because the committee did something this year that I agree with. They looked at these teams and said, this is in my opinion. I don't know if this is exactly what they did. I'm not sitting in the room. I think there's 13 people that are on this committee. Headed up by the AD of Michigan, by the way, for those of you that don't think the Big Ten has an unfair advantage. But looking at what they did, this is in my opinion from the outside looking in. They put Clemson as the 5th automatic bid, but they put them as the 12 seed out of 12. How many losses does Clemson have? 3. How many at-large teams made it in with 3 losses? 0. So why did Alabama not make it? 3 losses. So we look at the rest of the field. You're at-large, number 5, Texas. I agree with that. Because if they had won over Georgia, I had them at 2. And I believe that Texas should be above the at-large teams that were here in the SEC and the Big Ten and so on and so forth. The number 6 seed, Penn State. My feelings? No great win. No big splash. They were going to put them above Tennessee. They were going to put them above... Well, they put them above... pardon me. Let me go back to here. Oh, no, that's right. So the 6th seed, Penn State, they had them ranked 4th. So the 6th seed, Penn State, I can see it when I put it head-to-head and I looked at it. I can understand it. I don't 100% agree that Penn State is a top 6 team in the nation right now, but breaking it down, and you could go back and watch that immediate reaction video on Facebook.com and YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT to get my thoughts on Penn State. So they're the 6th seed. The 7 seed, Notre Dame, I talked to a commissioner off the air about this. I said if they go 11-1 or 12-0, no matter who they play, ranked or unranked, it doesn't matter. They don't have a conference. They don't play in a championship game. They will only play 12 games this season. If they go 11-1 or 12-0, they're going to get in. They told me, oh, that's written into the college football playoff. That if Notre Dame puts themselves in that position, they put themselves in. So he told me that there's allegedly verbiage to protect them in the case of them having these, because by the way, when they go 11-1 or 12-0, they made it into the college football playoff.
God, I hope Indiana beats them.
So, and here's the thing. Well, that game's going to knock out two teams that I go, Notre Dame, they're better than I thought they were going to be this year. But keep in mind, they lost to Ball State. That would usually, in the BCS or in the old college football playoff, that would have killed a team. So
this is how bad that loss was. We don't even know. It's like Northern NIU is just like what? Like who's ever heard of NIU prior to when they beat Notre Dame? It was like when Appalachian State beat Michigan all those years ago. It's like, what the hell is an Appalachian State? And all of a sudden they beat Michigan. Northern Illinois does the same thing to Notre Dame, and that's hysterical.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Notre Dame gets that loss, and they were forgiven to the tune of being the 7 seed.
I mean, I think it woke them up. I think they deserve to be in. I don't think they're one of the best 5 teams in college football, though.
No.
That's why they're ranked 7th. I think that's appropriate.
So they end up being 5. They get the 7 seed. So from there, we have the 8-9 matchup, Ohio State and Tennessee. Ohio State, they beat Indiana. They beat Penn State. They played Oregon close. So did Boise State.
Blown out by Michigan.
So did Boise State. They got annihilated by Michigan. But they're above Tennessee here, so they get the home game. Let's see how Josh Heupel does with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that 8-9. And then we get to the 10, Indiana. That is my largest bone to pick, so I'll come back to it. SMU gets in at number 11. Why did they get in, Dan? Because they were undefeated in their conference going throughout the entire season. They were above Miami, who the committee was trying to put in at every turn. They went and played Clemson. They lost by 3 in the last possible second of the game. They went 11-2 on the season, playing in their championship game. Do you know who didn't play in a championship game? Who did not play in a championship game? I'll tell you. Tennessee, Ohio State, Penn State did. Tennessee, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame. None of those teams played in a championship game. SMU deserves to be in. Why do they deserve to be in over Alabama? Because they didn't have 3 losses. They didn't let a single team in at large. They had 3 losses, and they put the only 3-loss conference champion in the last possible seed, which to me was saying by the committee, if you have 3 losses, we're not going to put you in. Clemson, we have to put you in because you're in the ACC. SMU gets in, deservedly so, as the 11. Clemson gets the 12. Let me go back to the 10. This is my bone to pick. I can agree with almost everything in this thing. I understand why they put Arizona State at the 4 seed in the Big 12 champion and not the ACC champion. I get that, okay? SMU getting in, that makes a lot of sense. They shouldn't have had to come to the last.
If SMU would have won, they would have been 4.
Yeah. If SMU won, I think they would have been 3. Boise would have been 4. That was my prediction. But
you could have gone either way.
They would have been in the top 4.
That's fair.
They would have been in the top 4. Oregon's
3-4 would have been a toss-up.
Boise State's where they're supposed to be. Georgia's where they're supposed to be. Arizona State's where they're supposed to be. I believe in all those. Those are fine. Breaking all of this down, the only team that has no business, and this is nothing to Kurt Signetti. This is nothing to the Hoosiers as a program. I'm going to say this based on body of work. You're 11-1. Congrats.
In the Big 10.
Unranked teams. A sea of unranked teams. The only team that they beat, Illinois, scratching the rankings. But here's my thing. Army's 11-1. Army's playing in a new conference. Army goes undefeated in that conference. Army plays for their first ever conference championship. Army wins, blowing out Tulane, who was a good team this year and has been a good team, and by the way, lost their coach, Willie Fritz, and got John Summerall and still played for a championship, which is insane because I don't think anybody had Tulane being that high. Tulane was a pain in the butt. Army's guys aren't big enough. They can't push guys around. Tulane's got some big old dudes. Tulane's got some leftover players from when they beat USC and Caleb Williams in the Cotton Bowl, which I was at, down in Arlington, Texas. Tulane is a tough mother of a team. They blew them out. When Army played, you talk about Army needing a wake-up call. Notre Dame's wake-up call came against Northern Illinois. Army's wake-up call came against Notre Dame. Now, 11-1, and you put their schedule up to Indiana's schedule, and we look at 11-1, played for a conference championship. 11-1, sat and watched. Army is a conference champion, 11-1. How many one-loss teams are out there wondering what could have been besides Army? Army should be in this thing, in my opinion. You could have made them the 12, I don't care. But Army should have been in this thing. Army has a different style. They have a different way that they play. They could have been a matchup nightmare for some of the teams out there. Indiana is the 4th Big Ten. The chair of the College Football Playoff Committee is Michigan's athletics director. Before that, we had Iowa's athletics director. What do they have in common? They're from the Big Ten. Human beings that say that they have no preferential treatment, no partiality, no lean to one side or the other. Army played for a conference championship. Indiana played a bunch of unranks. Army played some unranks. Army, some of their unranks, arguably better than some of Indiana's unranks. And playing Tulane in a conference championship and beating them by, what, three touchdowns? Tulane, who played other teams tough early on in the season and had a tougher early season schedule than the schedule of Notre Dame, which proved to be that a really tough game on their schedule was Northern Illinois. Army should be in this thing. They are a conference champion. They are 11-1. And Indiana has no win that can truly be something they can lean on as a claim to fame. Well, we beat Illinois, who was in the ranking, out of the ranking, in the ranking, out of the ranking, probably in the ranking just to make Indiana look better, at 23, at 25. Army is the only bone I have to pick. I can agree with most things in this college football playoff. I can disagree with some of the seeding. And Greg, yeah, I did fault Notre Dame for not playing in a conference championship. I absolutely faulted Notre Dame for not playing in a conference championship. Absolutely fault them for not playing in a conference championship. Because nobody else gets that. UMass is going to be in a conference next season. They're going to be in the MAC. So there's going to be 13 football teams in the MAC for the first time in a long time. UConn and Notre Dame are the only teams that don't have a home anymore. UConn can go 12-0. They're never going to get in the college football playoff.
Well, UConn's never going to go 12-0, so I don't think we have to worry about that.
But you look at that, they're never going to be in the college football playoff 12-0. But Notre Dame is going to be in the college football playoff. Notre Dame is, as long as they go 11-1 or they go 12-0, they could play East Bumbletucky. It doesn't matter.
But they're gonna find out when they lose. We're gonna find out that they're not that good.
Right. Well, the thing is whoever is in that bracket,
they have to play Georgia.
Right. So Indiana
if they
or
beat
Notre
Indiana.
Dame.
Georgia's gonna blow the doors off Notre Dame.
Well, and some people think Notre Dame is gonna blow the doors off of Georgia. So
no.
Here's the thing.
Georgia's going to beat the brakes off of them.
The one good thing about the Indiana-Notre Dame matchup is a team that's going to get in no matter what they do or who they play, as long as they get to 11-1 or 12-0, Notre Dame. That team got a wake-up call. The only two other times that they got in the college football playoff, they got a wake-up call. They're about to get one at some point here in round 1 or 2. Indiana,
let me ask you a question.
I respect Indiana. But they do not deserve to get in with the same record above a conference champion in Army. They do not.
Let me ask you a question.
They do not deserve to get in above Army.
If Indiana beats Notre Dame, will you change your tune?
If Indiana beats Notre Dame, then I'll give them their first quality win of the season. Georgia's had a bunch. Texas has had a bunch. Oregon's had
But
a
all right,
bunch.
so all right.
Boise State.
So this is
I look
this
at
is where I
SMU's had
want
some
to.
quality wins. Tennessee's
This
had
is
some
where I want to
quality
butt in
wins.
here. This is where I want to butt in here because I was looking through who Navy played and then looking at the rankings and everything. I'm gonna list off some teams that I would have put in over Navy. Obviously, the 12 that are
over Army.
Obviously, the 12 that I'm sorry, not Navy. Over Army.
Yeah, okay.
I don't care about record. I'm just talking about how what they accomplished, who they beat,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. I'm gonna rattle off teams I would have put in over them. Ole Miss, South Carolina, BYU, Iowa State, Illinois, Syracuse. I would have put all of those teams in over Army. And yes, I said Syracuse. And I did not say Miami and Alabama for the same reason. Syracuse beat Miami. Syracuse played well in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
BYU played great all year. They beat SMU, who's in the playoff. South Carolina played a tough SEC schedule. They played a very tough SEC schedule. They had wins over Texas A&M. They had a win over Missouri. They beat Clemson. They lost by 3 to LSU. They lost by 2 to Alabama. I'd put them in. Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to LSU by 3 in overtime. They blew out South Carolina. They beat Georgia. Now, granted, they lost some. I would have put South Carolina in over them, but they lost some tough games that they probably shouldn't have. But that's another one. BYU. They beat Utah. I mean, they had a tough end of the season. We know that, but they beat SMU. They beat Kansas State. They beat Arizona, who's usually good. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat UCF. But then they kind of fell into a rut. They lost to Kansas. They lost to Arizona State.
Yeah.
They fell right out of the Big 12, race and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at those teams ranked ahead of them. Well, maybe not Illinois. I probably shouldn't have said Illinois. But you look at the teams ranked ahead of them, there's 4 or 5 teams that I would have put in over Army. And Indiana is in that conversation.
But what I would take out of that is
that's taking wins and losses out of it.
See, I look at it like
I'm just looking at who you beat.
I look at, well, I mean, if it's who you beat, I mean, South Carolina, Alabama, they should all been. Ole Miss should have been in.
Alabama shouldn't have been in.
So
I would have put Alabama was last out of the SEC.
I would have put Ole Miss in this order: Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama. If I had to make a choice, if it was expanded, but to your argument, this is why I put Army in. I put Army in strictly in the head-to-head against Indiana because I think they could give Indiana some fits with the way that they play. So
I think Indiana would beat them.
Well, I'd love to see the game. And,
I would too. And unfortunately, we're not going to. But
Army,
I look at you look at the teams that Indiana played versus the teams that Navy played. Obviously, the Big Ten, the middle of the Big Ten, and the middle of the American, I'd take the Big Ten in terms of those teams. We've had that conversation before. But UCLA, Indiana beat up on Maryland. Northwestern's usually decent. They beat up on them. Nebraska didn't have a great year, hence why Scott Frost is back at UCF. Blew them out. Washington, who was just the national runner-up, blew them out. They beat Michigan State. They beat. Hang on, ESPN. The app keeps crashing on me. Happens every day.
Well, let me hit you with this. I want to go back to your point.
They beat Michigan State in Michigan.
Your point of who you would put in over Army, I'm putting in the committee didn't take 3 lost teams. So
even comparing Indiana to them.
But I'm taking
They're similar.
I'm taking the 3 losses out. I'm taking the 3 lost teams out because I believe that that's what the committee did from what I can see from the outside looking in. Not being in that room, just looking at it, they took no at-large 3 loss. they put Clemson as a 3-loss champion at the 12 seed out of 12. So 3 losses worked against you. So I'm going to take those out. I'm going to take BYU out because of how they finished the season and they had more losses than Army. So those teams that are ranked above them, I'm going to take them out because they didn't play for conference championships. They had more losses, and in a lot of cases, they had 3 losses. So when I have Army going up against Indiana, do I want to take the 4th team from the Big Ten, insinuating that the Big Ten is better than the SEC, which is wrong? If I'm going to take 4 from any conference, I'm going to take from the SEC. But looking at the Big Ten, and this season that the SEC beat the hell out of each other, so they had a bunch of teams with 3 losses. When you look at the Big Ten, you don't need 4. A third of the college football playoff is the Big Ten. Give me a joke, okay? So you can either take a conference champion with the same record and a similar schedule, which Army has to Indiana, and put 1 team from the American and still have 3 from the Big Ten, or take a 4th Big Ten team. The argument doesn't make sense to take the 4th best Big Ten team versus the undefeated American Athletic champion who went 9-0 in their first season in a conference. So to me, you regard Boise State as undefeated in their conference. You regard SMU as going undefeated in their conference all the way to the ACC championship game. You regard Oregon first year in the Big Ten going undefeated in their conference. Who else went undefeated in their conference? The MAC didn't have an undefeated in their conference. The Sun Belt didn't have an undefeated in their conference. The Conference USA didn't have an undefeated in their conference. So if the Mountain West, they're undefeated in their conference, goes to the college football playoff. And SMU undefeated in the regular season, in their first season there, goes to the college football playoff. And Oregon undefeated in their first season in the Big Ten goes to college football playoff. The only undefeated team to play in a conference championship game to not go to the college football playoff is Army. So when you look at it like that and you say they did the same thing that Oregon, Boise State, and SMU did, but they're the only team sitting at home, did you really need a 4th Big Ten team? Michigan AD, chair of the college football playoff? Or could you have taken Army and had all 4 of the undefeateds in regular season play, including 3 in a new conference, play for a college football championship? To me, it doesn't make sense to say if these are all if these are all teams that play in the conference championship, and most of them are conference champions, and they all went undefeated in their conference, and 3 out of 4 went undefeated in a new conference, Army is the only one left out of the conversation. So you take 4 from one conference when you can take 1 that equals the other 3 that are in the college football playoff. I mean, Army did what they were supposed to do. You can't even say that Army played and lost like SMU. They played and they won, and they blew them out. And Tulane played a difficult schedule, and they play a difficult their non-conference schedule is more difficult than Big Ten's non-conference schedule of any team in the Big Ten in the last God knows how many years. Tulane challenges the hell out of themselves to prove something. Memphis does it to prove something. I mean, Army, for goodness sakes, Army's out there playing Notre Dame every single year, regardless of where Notre Dame is ranked. Navy's out there doing it. I mean, to me, when you look at Army and you say they got 1 bad loss, they got 1 blemish, Notre Dame's blemish is worse than Army's. Army's losses to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's losses to maybe a team that was ranked 80. Maybe they were ranked 72 out of 134. So when you really break it down and you say conference champion, undefeated in their conference, didn't lose a game, played for a conference championship, and everybody else that did what they did is in the college football playoff, and their only losses to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's only losses to Northern Illinois, I'm sorry, the more I talk about it, the more I would rather have a conference champion in Army in it at 11-1 than I would have a 4th Big Ten team. For what purpose?
All right. So that's very completely valid. What I would say there, why wouldn't you put them in over Clemson then?
Well, Clemson won.
Based on that argument,
they won though. Clemson won their conference championship.
Doesn't matter. So did Army. Based on that logic, I would take Clemson out and put Army in.
You're not gonna
3 losses.
You're not gonna. But the thing is whether they say it or not, those top 5 spots are always going to have the SEC, the Big Ten, and probably the ACC champions. It's because of the reality of the underbelly of this thing. When they expanded the college football playoff, I said top 4 seeds, okay. Top 5 seed, fine. So SEC, they're like, well, Dan, it could be any of the 9. And it could. And here's the thing, too, by the way.
It could be, but it won't be.
Right. So that's why it didn't happen. I mean, if Clemson was an at-large, then absolutely I put Army in over Clemson. They have 3 losses. But because they won the ACC championship, that was the differential there. I could put Army at they probably would have put Army at 12 if they put them in, and when they would have put Clemson
Correct.
at 11. But here's something that you may not know, and I'm going to talk about this more as we go on here. I didn't know this before this weekend, but I talked to someone who is in the room. The Pac-12 is only named as part of this college football playoff because they were inside of like the House litigation and all this stuff that's going on legally. In order for the Pac-12 to work to get an automatic bid or to be a part of that, because right now they're considered a group of conference. Once they expand, they're considered a group of. The Pac-12, it has to be negotiated, voted, and agreed upon for the Pac-12 to have a fighting chance to look at getting an automatic bid. Right now, they don't have one because it was a 6+6 rule. Keep in mind, it was going to be the 6th highest ranked conference champions, which was going to protect the autonomous 5, which was the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC, and the Pac-12. And then it was going to let in one group, I can't stand calling them this, but one group of 5 conference champion. Now that the Pac-12 was not the Pac-12 and went down to 2, they made it the 5+7 rule, which was 5 highest ranked conference champions plus 7 at large. If the Pac-12 wants to change it back and try to get in where the autonomous 5 get put into this thing plus 1, they have to re-vote to a 6+6 rule. So just so people understand, the old Pac-12 does not protect the new Pac-12, and the new Pac-12 is considered a group of conference. They are not considered a power conference right now.
Well, how do they have it for coming back in next year? Because is it like they're merging with the Mountain West, or they're taking some Mountain West schools or something like that?
They're raiding the Mountain West, plus they're getting some others. They're bringing in Gonzaga for everything but football. So the Pac-12 still has their logo. The Pac-12 still has their name, and they still have their history. But the Pac-12, what they are now is essentially a bunch of the Mountain West and then kind of morphing this thing together. They also have a time period where they can grow their conference to get back to what they need it to be. But for people to understand, the Pac-12 only has a seat at the table because they were named in the lawsuit thing and everything that was going on with the NCAA. They were named as part of all of this, trying to figure out the legality of things.
That's probably why the Big 12 didn't, or the Pac-12 didn't actually dissolve.
Yeah, because the Pac-12, when the college football playoff, when all that stuff came up and you looked at different things, their logo's still at the bottom, but they only have Washington State and Oregon State. They are coming back into this as a group of conference. And maybe having a team that was in the quote-unquote power conferences and in the autonomy group legally, maybe going from power to group of, maybe that'll teach the Pac-12 something, and maybe that lesson will help their leaders make changes where the group of will be protected, even if it's only to protect the Pac-12, that they'll open a door, because it's all nice to be on this side of the table where there's food, but on the other side of the table where there's no plates and they're just watching you eat. Now that the Pac-12 is going to be on both sides of the feast versus the famine, maybe they'll actually accidentally help out the group of conferences because they're going from feast to famine.
I mean, we'll see, but all I can say is if you would have put Army in at 12, let's just say you let them in over Indiana, they would have been 12. They would not have been ranked. Clemson would have been ranked ahead of them. Texas would have absolutely murdered them. They would lose by 50.
Just like they did Michigan. Multiple scores.
Texas would beat Army by 50. Indiana, I wouldn't say this. Indiana's not playing them, so it doesn't really matter. We're never going to see that. But Indiana would probably still lose, but they may only lose by 14. Army would probably get the breaks. Texas would beat the brakes off of them. I think that's what they think about. Because as the 12 seed, I could see Clemson giving Texas a game. I think Texas is going to win, but I could see Clemson staying in it, hanging around until maybe the fourth quarter. Army would be out of it by halftime. And I think that's basically how you decide it. Because I don't think the argument should have been Indiana versus Army. I think it should have been Clemson versus Army. Because you were not going to leave out a one-loss Big Ten team. It was never going to happen. I don't care. One loss in the Big Ten, you are in the playoff in a 12-team format. If there was a, let's just say Vanderbilt went crazy and had a one-loss season in the SEC, or let's just say BYU stayed on track and they would have been a one-loss Big 12 team. They would have been in over Indiana, but you didn't have that. You didn't. When you have a one-loss Power 5 or Power 4 or whatever the heck it's called now, team, you basically have to put them in. Would they beat Army? I think they would. You probably would pin them head-to-head. Army versus Indiana. Who would win? My money would be on Indiana probably by 10 or more. Would be my guess.
We shall see.
It's just me. It's the way that's and we talked about this preseason. Like that's you got to decide based on if they've played head to head, then you have your decision. If they haven't played head to head, then you have to take like who would win. But I think the issue was Army was so far down in the rankings,
which was set up.
You would have had to move them above so many teams. You would have had to send them up 15 spots to get them in.
That's set up though. It's set up for the argument that you just said. They'd have to move up so many spots. The committee sets that up to fail. They set.
But why was Boise in the top? But why was Boise State in the top 10?
Boise State was in the top 10 because of the preseason narrative. The preseason narrative with the expansion of the college football
to start the year. I don't think
it didn't matter. The conversation on major networks to start the season was we're expanding the playoff. Boise State's got a great chance to get in. That was the narrative. Go back and look at narratives, people. Look at narratives that the media creates. The ones that are picked up and carried nationally and talked about and just banged on the drum over and over and over again. Watch the narratives. Boise State was set up to succeed. If they won, all they had to do was win. The media was already talking about them. Think about how well the Americans played in New Year's Six Bowls. Think about how well the Americans played when they've been put to the you're never going to beat these teams. Think about the undefeated teams that they've had, the success that they've had, the guys they've sent to the NFL, the coaches that have been poached, the players that have been poached, the whole schools that have been poached. Think about everything the Americans done. With the expansion of the playoff, they weren't mentioning the American. They were mentioning Boise State. Boise State has not been as consistently great as they had been in the past. The American Athletic Conference has beat the hell out of each other. They got like a different champion every year. The way that the American has played in a decade of existence plus, I didn't hear anybody talk about the American in the expanded playoff. They only talked about Boise State. And it was like they were giving Boise State an apology from when Boise State went 13-0 the year that they couldn't play in the BCS, but the NCAA said that they could still regard themselves as national champions. Boise State, the narrative was set. Who's going to be the other team? Go back months. Go back to August, September, and watch the videos on major networks. They were talking about Boise State. All Boise State had to do was win. Because if they were talking about Tulane or Army or any other team in the American like that, all they would have to do is win. And Boise State won, and they played in their conference championship, and they were undefeated in their conference championship, or in their conference, and they won the conference championship, and Army did the same thing. If they were talking about Army the way that they were talking about Boise State at the beginning of the season, Army would be in right now.
All I would say, though,
if you take away Ashton
is if
Gentry
they did
from,
put
take away
if
Ashton
they would have
Gentry
put
from
Army
Boise
in,
State, take away Ashton Gentry, who is Boise State to the nation?
fair, nobody.
Okay? Take away Bryson Daly, who is Army to the nation. They have the same
Also nobody.
They have the same amount of touchdowns. So the narrative was set that Boise State was the team to get in if they won. And remember that a couple weeks ago, they talked about the American and Boise State, the American and the Mountain West, both getting teams in, and the panel laughed and said, how crazy would that be? Pay attention to national narratives, the conferences that they disgrace and the conferences that they build up. See how they treat Boise State next year when Genty's not there. All I'm saying is, look at the narrative.
Well, if Boise State wins a national championship, a legit national championship, which I think they very well could, people won't be talking about them anymore. They'll be talking about them as one of the best teams in college football. They won't care what conference that they're in.
And I hope that Boise State gets to the end of this thing, because they are a beacon.
I'd love to see it.
They're a beacon
Now,
for the American, even though they're not in the American. They're still a
as
beacon
a
for the
closet
American.
Penn State fan, I don't want them to, because I want Penn State to beat SMU and then beat them. But as a college football fan, I think it'd be great for the sport. It really would be, to avenge that 13-0 season where they didn't get to go to the national championships. But I think the main thing that would end the debate is yesterday. Army got blown out by Navy. I know it's the emotion of the Army-Navy game, which I don't care what these teams' records are. Anything can happen in that game. But if you're the committee and you put Army in and you see what you just saw yesterday, there would have been some deep, deep regret on behalf of the committee for putting them in. Because then they would have realized that they lost to Navy. Now they got 2 losses. Oh, boy, like, what do we do now?
Yeah, okay.
We can't take them out because we already put them in.
But you could say another thing to that. You could say, what if Indiana had one more game and they played Oregon and they lost by 40? Then there would be deep regret for that.
They probably would lose to Oregon by 40. But
They
that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing, though, and you know it.
Yeah.
That'd be playing the number 1 team in the country. You want to get blown out by Oregon? Okay. They are the best team in college football by a mile. That's not the same thing as playing and losing to an unranked opponent.
But in my opinion, too, Navy, for what they did, Navy was a couple steps away from
Navy's
playing.
not a bad team.
No, they're not. And people forget it doesn't.
But at the same time,
it doesn't matter the record when they play each other. See, that's the thing that's why I'm happy that this doesn't count against them or for them or whatever, because the reality of it all is that Army-Navy game, Army could have been 11-0 and Navy could have been 0-11. And Navy still could have won that game, because that game, and having physically been there a couple days ago,
the emotion of the game,
that experience, it is Army-Navy on the battlefield. There is no record. There is no, this is my coach and this is what we did. And no, There is no, I have a high, no. Army-Navy is one of the greatest things that we have in this country. And by the way, in case the television shut it off, when they put President Trump and J.D. Vance and the crew on the big screen, the military went insanely excited.
And it always happens.
They went crazy. By the way, they couldn't go crazy for Joe Biden. He's never shown up to an Army-Navy game as President of the United States in 4 years.
I think he's the only one in the last 100 years that didn't go.
Well, since 1901, it has become a tradition, since Teddy Roosevelt, that the president goes to the Army-Navy game. Joe Biden has found it not important to go to a single Army-Navy game, except for when he was vice president, which wasn't his choice, because if Barack wanted to go, then he went with him, you know. So as the president of the United States, down the road, because this game was literally down the road. It's played all over the place. This one is down the road. We were in Landover, Maryland at the Northwest Stadium, the home of the Washington Commanders. The capital of Washington, D.C. is down the road. The president could have taken Marine One and been there in about 15 seconds. So the fact that Joe Biden has not shown up, and again, folks, this is not Democratic or Republican. I'm just stating presidential, regardless of party. The fact that this man did not show up to support our military for 4 years, especially in a game, in this game 2 days ago, when they were down the street from Pennsylvania Avenue, he has lost a tremendous amount of respect for me. The president-elect, who has not even taken office, showed up for this game over a month before he takes office. And the buffoon that is Joe Biden didn't show up to one game in 4 years. And why am I calling him a buffoon? Because he didn't show up to a game in 4 years. I have family that has served as Marines, as Air Force, in the Navy, and in the Army. I would call any president who doesn't show up for the military an absolute disgrace to America. It's not Joe Biden, Donald Trump, whoever. 1901 to right now, that is over 100 years. And the man who was sitting in the basement of the White House for the last 5 months couldn't go to a game for 15 minutes to wave. I don't care what party you're apart from, and if I've pissed off Democrats watching right now, I'm not trying to. This is regardless of party. You could be the independent Green Party of Purple Turgles. I don't care. If you're the president of the United States and you have all of the military, you have the Army and the Navy, the cadets and the midshipmen, men and women, that are about to be called into battle by you, sitting down your street, and you don't show up, and then you send them to war, you are a disgrace. I'm sorry I'm not sorry I'm passionate about it. You are a disgrace.
No, don't be sorry.
You are a disgusting disgrace to America. There are 3 wars going on right now. You are sending these children to battle, and you can't wave to them 15 minutes from where you sit. Half of this country voted for you, and you can't honor the people that protect this country. If you're the president of the United States and you don't respect the military, leave office and do it today. I don't care if you have a month left. Leave now. If you're the president
don't
of the
do
United
that because
States,
then that means
and
Kamala
you
Harris
cannot do
becomes the
this.
president.
What'd you say?
No, because that means Kamala Harris becomes the president.
No, but
God help us if that happens for a month.
Literally, just if you can not support the military. And by the way, this current regime lied to the military. I have a friend who is serving in the military who was lied to when he was coming home, was forced to stay, forced to go through all this nonsense to get back to his family, missed the death of his grandfather, missed the funeral, missed the wake because of this president. So this president can't go wave to the living men and women that are serving in the Army and the Navy, but he can force my friend to miss his father's funeral or his grandfather's funeral. If you want to fight with me as a Democrat or Republican or independent because of everything that I said today, then fight with me on the notion that this president kept my buddy from going home and honoring his grandfather, and it's the same person who couldn't wave to the kids down the street.
I don't know if he can wave in general, but that's besides the point. He should have been there. I mean, it's a tradition for the president to be at that game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just trying to look it up. I don't know if there's been times where the president hasn't been able to go. I'm sure there has. I'm sure during World War II, it was tough to get to the Army-Navy game because of what was going on in the world. But at the same time, not once in 4 years do you go to the Army-Navy game.
Yeah.
especially when this year it's in your backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Love him or hate him, it's a disgrace to America. It's a disgrace to the military. It's the reason why, even if he was the candidate, he would have lost. He lost this country. He has no regard for the military whatsoever at all. And we have also been lied to by his party about him in general. He is essentially incapacitated at this point. He's got a month left in his presidency, less than a month left. He's going to go down. Jimmy Carter, he's still kicking, but Jimmy Carter should be happy to know that he is no longer the worst president in the history of America.
Well, how about this? Trump went to 3 Army-Navy games before this one.
Yeah.
Or he might have gone
sure
to.
He went.
Actually,
he
might have gone
multiple times after his presidency.
He might have gone all 4. Let's see here. It will be the third straight year.
I'm pretty
Trump
sure he went all 4.
Fourth
but
since
I'm
getting
also
elected.
pretty sure he went to multiple since he's been president. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he was. I think he was there last year too.
Oh, here you go. Here you go. Trump became back in 2020. This is 2024, so he's past this. But back in 2020, Trump became the first sitting president to attend at least 3 games since George Bush attended the 2008 contest. So Bush attended at least 3. Trump attended more than 3. Barack Obama attended 1. And Bill Clinton attended 1.
In 8 years?
Yeah, Bill Clinton attended 1, which was back in 2011.
They went to 1 game in 8 years?
Bill Clinton attended 1 in 96, and Barack Obama attended 1 in 2011.
Come on now.
Gerald Ford was the first president to attend the annual game since John F. Kennedy, who made his appearance in 1961 and 6. So there was a gap. President Gerald Ford attended in 1974, and so he was the first president to attend the game since John F. Kennedy, who made the appearance in 61 and 62. Kennedy was a Naval Academy graduate, and he was assassinated before he could have attended another game, so he probably would have went to another one. And then Harry Truman.
He would have probably gone all 4 years.
Yeah, Truman made annual visits from 1945 after World War II ended all the way until 1950, and then showed up again in 1952. Teddy Roosevelt was the first sitting president, as I mentioned, to attend it. He attended the game in 1901 and made another visit back in 1905. So there were presidents. So John F. Kennedy stopped going because he was killed. Truman went in 1945 after World War II ended. But Obama and Clinton went one time, and Joe Biden
in 8 years each.
And Joe Biden decided he should never go, except for when he was the vice president.
Oh my goodness. We could go on about that forever, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
So I mean, come on, you know what I mean? And the thing is
it's not that hard. It's 4 hours out of your day.
It's not even 4 hours because they might.
Well, this one, yeah,
they go for like halftime and duck out. So
yeah, you don't have to stay for the whole game. You want to show up, wave on the jumbotron. If you got to leave at halftime, leave at halftime. Yeah. Take Marine One back to the White House.
What else are you doing that Saturday? Well, they're solving the world's problems. Yeah, okay.
Solving what?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
He's got 24 more days as president.
Right.
Sorry, no. That's not right.
He has
34 more days as president. No. What are we doing?
If he's not lowering gas prices and egg prices.
You don't have to do. You just need to show up.
Yeah.
Show your support for the military.
I had the Secret Service. Like, I literally, they were there I got there 3 hours before the game started. More than 3 hours before the game started. I got searched by the Secret Service. They go through everything. Like there was a, well after the game was over, there was a helicopter circle in the stadium. They had all this stuff. They're like, oh, Secret Service is going down there. That road might be closed. Like,
I mean, I'm glad they did. They tried to kill Trump, 3 times?
So, I mean, But the Secret Service, and I thank them for their service. And if you're watching and listening right now, I thank you for your service as well. By the way, you might be protecting me one day when I run. So let's make sure that
you got my vote, buddy.
I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, and again, this is not to Joe Biden. This is to any president that would make a decision as careless, thoughtless, and heartless as this. You make decisions in your office to sign papers to send these cadets and midshipmen to war, but you can't go and wave to them from a box seat covered in plexiglass for 10 minutes. That to me is an absolute tragedy. Even if he did it just for the stupid photo op, even if he was a heartless person that just wanted to wave and pretend that he cared, he still didn't show up to pretend. He didn't show up to pretend he cared. He didn't show up to care. He didn't show up at all. I would love to know what he's been doing for the last 4 Saturdays. I want to know what he's been doing for the last 4 Army-Navy games on that Saturday mid-afternoon.
Probably on vacation somewhere in Florida.
I'd love to know where he was this past Saturday. But to me, it's just... And Marine One was up and running. So to me, I think that, you know, in my opinion, maybe when I saw Marine One, that was for Trump. So looking at this right now, Jerry said the president sits on one side for the first half and then sits on the other side for the second half. And yeah, in the case of Joe Biden, he sits on no side. So America, he wasn't on either side. And then
he sits on the couch in the basement.
Right. And Jerry said my code name as president would be Paisan One. I like that. That's nice. So
that's funny.
So let's get into one more thing here. Our Jets and our Jaguars played yesterday. I was pleasantly surprised that the Jaguars scored 25 points. They lost the game 32-25. They've been playing with their backup quarterback, Mac Jones, who was drafted in the top 15 the same year as Trevor Lawrence back in 2021. And they've been doing okay. Trevor is out. He probably should have had surgery last year. He's having surgery now. He is a fighter. He is a leader. He doesn't like to miss games. Never missed a high school game. Never missed a college game. Missed one pro game last year. Probably should have missed the last 4 weeks of the season at least last season. So, I mean, when people ask me, do I want to get rid of Trevor? No. And it's for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with throwing touchdowns and interceptions. Showing up is 99% of the battle, and he shows up for his team and goes to war every day. So, Trevor, I hope you get better. I hope you get healthy, and I send you my love, and I appreciate you, and I'm thankful for our conversations that we've had in this wonderful journey that I've had over 21 years of broadcasting. With that being said, Jets and Jaguars, the battle of 3-10 yesterday. Murph, you're 4-10. My team is 3-11. Your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't really see the game, to be honest. I watched a little bit of the end of it, but I mean, I was driving home from the Philly show at that point, so we were kind of, you know, listening to it in the car at the end. But yeah, I'm not. I almost don't care anymore with the Jets this year. They're so bad. I can't watch them. But what's funny is Aaron Rodgers is actually playing okay. I think I forgot, and people in general have forgotten who that man is. He is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He is one of the greatest players to ever step on a football field. I think we've forgotten that. Has he been great? No. But he's been better than average. He's been better than pretty much every quarterback we've seen out of the Jets in recent years. He's already got over 3,000 passing yards. We got 2 more games left. 2 or 3? Wait. 3 more games left.
3 more games left.
Who do we play? Rams, Bills, Dolphins. He needs about 800 yards to break the single season passing yards record, and he needs, I think it was 10 touchdowns in 3 games. It's not impossible for him to break those 2 franchise records. And people would think, oh, he sucks. I've been saying that for weeks. And I didn't necessarily say he sucked. sucked, I was just like, I'm done with him because he's not helping us win. I'm starting to come back to the realization that he actually is helping us win, but the defense is making us lose.
Yeah.
So, if you ask me,
do you give him one more year?
I was literally about to get to that.
Okay.
If you asked me that question about 3 weeks ago, I would have said hell no. You asked me that question today, I would say yes. And the reason is, and now obviously it depends on what the new coach and the GM want to do. They may not want him. And so be it. Supposedly Bill Belichick was interested in the job, and the Jets had no idea. So that might be a loss on our part. But regardless, the reason I would bring him back again, if, and I emphasize if because I don't want them to, if they were to draft a quarterback to develop, let's just say they want to do it in round 2 and it's Kyle McCord. Just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anybody in round 1 other than Sanders and Ward that have any chance of starting in the NFL. I mean, realistically, Ewers is the only other one that might even go in the first round, and he may not even come out. Like he may transfer. Is there anyone else you could think of that would maybe go in the first round? I mean, if that's the case, maybe McCord does go in the first round.
I think there's a world where he could go in the second round, but the reality right now, I
don't think there are any other first round quarterbacks really.
If you look at
it's just Ewers.
If you look at the NFL, now Shedeur Sanders, and I got question marks with Shedeur Sanders.
I got question marks with him and Ward. I don't think either one of them are
Cam Ward. Yeah. I mean, if I go down the line and I look for who needs a quarterback, nobody in the AFC East, because I think Jordan Travis should have the opportunity with the Jets.
I'm afraid that he's not going to get it, but I
look in the AFC North. I mean, they're holding on to Deshaun Watson no matter what, so I don't see anything in the North. In the South,
I mean, maybe the Steelers, because neither one of them's under contract for next year, but I think they bring Russ or Fields, one of them back.
Steelers third round, day 2, or early day 3, draft Kyle McCord.
Or Drew Aller.
I would love to see that. Now,
I would too. I think that'd be great.
Now, I think that, the Raiders need a quarterback. See, the thing is, if the Raiders go
1-2 is going to be Sanders and Ward, and it's going to go to the Giants and the Raiders. I think they'd be foolish not to.
But here's the thing.
They got to at least try.
Do I think that, I don't know. It's just there's no sure. It was like a couple of years ago with Bryce Young. I had no one that I was 100% certain on. There was nobody that I felt really, really good. Not even 100%, 99.9% if you can't be 100%. There was no one, Trevor Lawrence's year, there was guys I felt good about. This past year, there was guys I felt good about. But that middle year, that 2022-23 draft, I did not, or the...
Well, 2022 doesn't really count. It was Kenny Pickett, and that entire quarterback class was terrible.
But
except for Brock Purdy.
The draft in 2023.
But even he's really not that good anymore.
Who saw C.J. Stroud, right? If you look at 2023.
The Texans, apparently.
Right. There was, and credit to them, there was nobody in 2023 that people are like, that's the guy. And C.J. Stroud emerged from it. He found a way. This year, they set a record this year. You look back into the year that Marino was drafted. This year, in 2024, they had... It
was the most first-round quarterbacks ever.
Most first-round quarterbacks ever. It was Drake. It was Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr.,
McCarthy,
J.J. McCarthy. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Because they had 6, and I think the record was 5 or something like that. But and
look, because they did 5 multiple times. So they did 5 in '83, and then they did 5 again in 2021.
But you look at the picks. You look at not even the fact that there was 6 taken. You look at the fact that there was 6 taken, with the majority of them coming
11
in the top 12, because Nick's was 12.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
So like of the 6, they took 5 in the top 12. It was like almost 50% of the picks in the beginning of the draft for quarterbacks. Like this year, that's not going to happen. It's going to be Cam Ward. Maybe somebody goes after Quinn Ewers, like you said, because they look at Texas. But it's
I think Quinn Ewers. I saw a rumor that he may stay in college and transfer because Texas is done with him. I mean, Texas is ready to move on to Arch.
But here's the thing: there's people that were like rumoring out there that Arch Manning was going to leave. I'm like, why would Arch Manning leave? He's been sitting there waiting.
He literally can't. He's only a sophomore.
He's been sitting there waiting. Like, yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, if he was able to come out, he'd go number 1.
But people were saying he was going to transfer out of Texas. I was like, why would he transfer out of Texas?
No, I mean, if he transferred from Texas, I don't see him going anywhere other than Ole Miss.
I got to go back to a point that I was going to make here on some cleanup crew before we finish up today's broadcast. Army's schedule for 2025, and obviously the dates aren't set, so I'm just going to run you down the schedule. Their home games are Marist, which is a game that Notre Dame could lose. So Marist, they play Navy, obviously in the Army-Navy game. These are the
Marist D2?
These are the home games. I think so. These are the home games. Marist, Navy, Baltimore. So the Army-Navy game, 13th game of this, or the 12th game of the season at the end of the season. So their home games.
It's in Baltimore next year?
They have Marist at M&T Stadium. So they have Marist
Bring it back to MetLife. Come on.
Marist is home. Charlotte, North Texas, Temple, Tulsa are all home games. Road games at Kansas State, at Air Force, and Kansas State was ranked in the top 23 times this year. At Kansas State, at Air Force, at East Carolina, who's a bowl team, at Tulane, who's a bowl team, at UAB, and at UTSA. Now, the Army-Navy game is the Army-Navy game, but the UTSA game, even if Army was not in the American Athletic, that has been a budding rivalry of the last few years. That UTSA-Army matchup has been literally one of like the games to watch of the season. I don't care who you're a fan of. Army and UTSA is a heck of a game to watch. Last season, they had an instant classic. So that's a game. And another thing to clean up, the Pac-12, all the things that I said about they don't have a seat at the table, they're not autonomous. They're still here because they're mentioned in the legality part of it all in the lawsuit, but they don't have an automatic bid. They're not considered an autonomy. They're not a power conference. The future of the Pac-12, basically, if you're named state, you can come in. Washington State and Oregon State are in because they stayed. Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah State, and San Diego State are all leaving the Mountain West to join the Pac-12. So
they should just call it the Pac State.
Exactly. So that's 2,
or the
3,
State 12.
4, 5, 6, 7. They need one more. They think they got to get to the magic number of 8. They apparently asked Memphis, South Florida, UTSA, and Tulane to leave the American, and they all said no. They banded together and said no. They actually came out with a joint release on that. But I want to see here. The Pac-12, so they're going to have 7. They're adding Gonzaga, but Gonzaga doesn't play football. So...
go get UConn. Go get UConn just for football.
And then Northern Illinois may go to the Mountain West, potentially. But the Mountain West they're going to have to rebuild now because they're losing their identifier, and Boise State and arguably Utah State and San Diego State at times. So
I don't know why they don't just merge.
Because
just
merging would have made
merge the Mountain West and the Big 12.
Because merging would have made sense when they lost 2. When they lost USC and UCLA, the Pac-12 could have survived by merging with the Mountain West. They would have had 20. And they didn't. And then they made an agreement to schedule with the Mountain West, which ended up being, now it's a lawsuit because they schedule games with the Mountain West, but they didn't become a part of the Mountain West for Oregon State and Washington State. And now because of the Pac-12 taking all these schools from that, it looked like the merger was only set up to open lines of communication. So there's a lawsuit out right now, and that lawsuit is going to make things interesting. The Pac-12 Mountain West lawsuit, the Pac-12 filed a lawsuit against the Mountain West over poaching penalties. That number will be more than $50 million, depending on how many schools end up going from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. These fees are on top of the $17 million per school that the soon-to-be Pac-12 members will have to pay for leaving the Mountain West. So you're looking at this saying $17 million per school unless it gets negotiated, plus poaching fees. The poaching penalties were part of the scheduling alliance. So the Mountain West, God bless their foresight on this, they said, we'll let the Pac-12, Oregon State, and Washington State play us, but if you play us and we have these scheduling alliance, we're going to put poaching penalties into the scheduling alliance in case you use our scheduling of teams together to poach, which is what the Pac-12 looks like from the outside looking in, looks like it did. So the Pac-12's argument is that it's an antitrust issue. The Pac-12 allegedly is claiming it had no choice but to agree to the deal because most of the conference's teams had left and the league only had a few months to come up with a schedule. That's not true. They could have played as independents. So, I mean, shout out to the Mountain West for putting poaching fees into their scheduling alliance, and I hope that they keep them because the Pac-12 didn't just poach. They took almost the entire Mountain West out of the Mountain West. UNLV is staying and Air Force is staying. So I still think Air Force should join the American and you have all the military academies together, but that's just my opinion. Air Force is obviously not to the height of Army-Navy. There's the Army-Navy game. Air Force is part of the Commander-in-Chief, for those that don't know. The Commander-in-Chief trophy is up every year amongst the three military schools in football. And when they go up against each other, it's whoever emerges at the top. So both teams beat Air Force in the regular season, which means that the Army-Navy game decided who would have the most wins amongst the three against each other. And with that being Navy, Navy gets the Commander-in-Chief trophy, which is not always, it usually can be decided before the Army-Navy game. So this was one of just a few years where it came down to the Army-Navy game. But keep in mind, we were a couple plays away, a couple moments away, a couple steps away from Army-Navy playing twice in 2 weeks, one for the American Championship and then the Army-Navy game the next weekend. So for those of you that thought it was impossible, Navy finished third behind Tulane and Army finished first. So it could very well happen that we see Army-Navy twice a year.
I wonder what would actually happen if that were to take place. To have Army-Navy play for the American Conference Championship and then play the Army-Navy game. Which game would be more important to them?
Here's the question. If there's two
games,
games,
the same team twice in 2 weeks.
Here's a very important question. If Army-Navy play twice in 2 weeks, one for the American Championship and the next in the Army-Navy game, if they're playing twice in one season in back-to-back weeks, will retired Joe Biden finally show up?
No chance. Not a chance. But hey, that would have been really cool to see, and like you said, it almost happened. It really did. I mean, if you're Army and Navy, and you're in that scenario where you got to play each other for the conference championship and then again in the Army-Navy game,
yeah,
like, is it going to be the Army-Navy game atmosphere for both games, or is it just going to be?
I would think so.
That'd be interesting.
I would think so.
Where is the American
It's going to be in two different locations.
Where do they play the American Championship game?
At the number one team's location.
Oh, so it's a home game.
So think about that. So Army Navy for the American Championship.
They would have had to.
Would either be played at West Point or Annapolis.
At West Point.
Yeah, so they would either be at West Point or Annapolis. This year would have been at West Point. So think about that. Think about Navy having to travel to Army or Army having to travel to Navy before they both meet on a neutral field. I would venture to say that it might even be more, because if Navy had to travel to Army for the championship this year, then I feel like Navy would be like, let's buy as many tickets as possible so that we could be louder than them at West Point.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been tough. That would have been really, really interesting. But imagine, I think it's going to happen at some point in the next couple of years.
Well, I mean,
If they both stay in the American, which it sounds like they're going to, I could see it happening.
I brought it up, and people were like, "Yeah, if that's ever going to happen," and then it literally almost happened.
It almost happened.
So, with that being said, Murph and I got a show and tell. We've been with you for a long time today, but we're making up time because we didn't spend the last 2 weeks together on a Monday.
Yeah, so for the record, we're staying on till like 3 p.m. So, just hang out with us all day.
We're staying on the air until the next Army-Navy game to wake up Joe Biden to get him to walk down the street. So with that being said, we're going to take...
It might be a week earlier next year.
It could be. Yeah, we should see. So, by the way, the government's trying to get rid of daylight savings time. I read that yesterday. I didn't know you could get rid of it. But anyways, we're going to take a step aside.
They've been talking about that for 5 years.
They said that it affects people and it affects health and work, and I don't know. But you know what else affects people? Drones. Drones affect people.
Have you seen any?
Yes. There was one by the stadium, and I think I'm not kidding with you because I saw it with my own eyes. There was something coming out of it. And I was like,
oh my goodness,
this was terrifying. But by the way, so the owner of Mother's Cupboard, Pete Green, before I left for the Army-Navy game, he said, "You've been traveling a lot." And I looked at him and I looked at the room and I said, "I've been traveling more than a New Jersey drone." And that was my statement. So with that,
did you fly down there or did you drive?
I flew.
I was gonna say that's a long drive. That's a long drive for me, let alone for you.
It's like 6 hours. But with that being said, we're going to take our final step aside. We're going to come back with GG Cards and Breaks Show and Tell. By the way, here's how the voting goes. It's 50-50, feet to the fire. If you had to choose between the Mets or the Yankees, a lot of people have voted. It's 50-50. And our other vote.
LFGM. That's all I have to say.
And Murph knows his pick. If you had to vote in the Heisman this year, who would you pick? 27.3% of you said Travis Hunter. 72.7% of you said Ashton Genty. We'll take a step.
Good job, America.
There you go, America. Not the first time.
America.
Not the first time you voted right. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back after this.
Second time in a year.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvalite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvalite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5, you can see GG Cards and Breaks. And when you go into the store, let them know the DT sent you. Or you can say Wake Up Call sent me, whatever you feel like saying. DT or Wake Up Call works. Walk in there, grab some awesome stuff. Singles, graded cards, packs and boxes. Oh my goodness. They have so many great things. I bought a lot. I'm going to be doing a couple box breaks. And today I'm going to be showcasing some insane things that I got. You have no idea what is going to be at GG Cards and Breaks every single week, and it is like Christmas come early. You can always find something special. If you never collected a card before, today's a great day to start. And if you have collected, today's a great day to continue. Head out there to GG Cards and Breaks and let them give you either your first card, your first moment, your first experience, your first memory, or an all-new one with your new favorite sports and trading card shop. They also have Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, as well as Disney Lorcana and Pokemon. You can catch it all, pun fully intended, on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, it is time to unveil all of these amazing cards, all of the great things. Murph went to a show in Philadelphia over the weekend. I decided to open up a box of 2024 NFL certified. There's not a lot of NFL products out there for 2024 right now, but they got a ton of boxes. Here's a message from Renee from left for you. But there was a ton of boxes that they got out there of 2024 certified. This is what it looks like, folks. It is a beautiful, beautiful box. Little bit higher of a price, but very much worth it when I show you what I got in this box. But as always, I will defer to my partner this afternoon, because we're still here, and that being Murph. What do you got, Murph?
I mean, hey, that's okay. It's a gloomy. I mean, it's snowing. Well, it's not snowing anymore, but I may or may not go to the mountain today. Haven't decided yet. But I'm going to show you a couple. I'm going to show you my favorite card that I got last. Actually, no. Yes, yeah. I'm going to show you my two favorite cards that I got at the end.
Okay.
But a couple that you'd appreciate. I had already dropped off my grading order when I got these, so they're going to have to go in the next one. But I got a couple of Bo Nix colored mosaic rookies that I'm going to send off to PSA.
All right.
A pink and a yellow. You'll appreciate this one. And for the price, I thought it was really good. I actually bought another one of his autos that is off with PSA at the moment. It is out of 25, out of 2024 pristine. Jordan Lawler of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
That's my boy right there.
That is a good card. I am planning on grading that one as well.
So you've shown me Lawler and Bo Nix, 2 that I love and 2 that I collect.
So another one we got, number 12 of 30. This is a cool card because it's a framed auto is how it's described. It is Rafael Devers of the Boston Red Sox.
Nice.
Picked it up in a trade deal with a guy. He wanted I think he wanted my Wyatt Langford first Bowman auto that I picked up at trade night. So I made a cash and trade deal. I don't normally do basketball, but I picked this card up in a deal where I got out of my my big Juan Soto card that some of you may remember I had. So I got a nice little package for it, and the next handful of cards I'm going to show you were in that package. This one here being a second year LeBron James PSA 10 out of Bowman.
Nice.
We got, this is kind of a cheapie, but we got a Prism base of CJ Stroud. We've got a Disco Prism Select of Jalen Hurts. I got that at the end of the show, so it did make it home. A Clear Vision rookie of Justin Herbert, number to 199. PSA 10. All of these are PSA 10s, by the way. A Bowman Chrome Mega Box of Jason Dominguez.
Nice.
And this is not the type of card that I would have expected me to get, but the price was right, and he's a future Hall of Famer. Yadier Molina rookie from 2004 Topps. And then the last 2 cards I'm going to show you, as I put these back in my brand new Zion case with the Pocono Show sticker on the back.
Nice.
So I'll put those back. But the last couple of cards that I got are really cool. One of them is cheap, which, you know, it's okay. I don't care that I don't really care that it's cheap, but it's cool, and it replaced a card that I had on my desk. And the patch is just not sick, and the way the card's built around it. He's known for having a horrible, horrible autograph, but it is 6 of 15 from 2023 Flawless Collegiate. It is Anthony Richardson in a Gators uniform.
Oh, nice.
How sweet is that patch?
That's a nice patch. It's a very
$100
nice patch.
that cost me.
4 colors?
For 3 colors.
There's no black in there?
No black.
So,
Nope.
orange.
Blue, orange, and white.
Nice. I like
That's
it.
it. So that'll be sitting on my desk. And then this one's interesting. I got this near the end of the show. I had money burning a hole in my pocket, and I decided to spend some of it.
Yeah.
This is not the first RPA of him that I had. I told you about this on the phone yesterday. It's a Joe Burrow Panini 1 RPA. It is a PSA 9 Auto 10. The patch isn't the best, but
Joey
it
B.
is 2-color, barely. But it's there. It
There's
is
a piece
really
of lint
cool
on
card,
the white. There's a piece of lint, Bill. You got to write 2 colors.
I know. But I tell you what, man, that show is awesome. And this one, I think we've talked about this one before. This is the Philly show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big one down there. It's close to 600 tables. There's breakers and vendors and people that have just boxes, people that just have dollar bins, soccer, basketball, football, hockey, Pokemon, Star Wars, Disney Lorcana, new stuff, vintage. I saw a couple 52 mantles laying around on the show floor, in the same case, mind you.
Yeah.
eBay had some stuff there. They had autograph signers. Oh, it was everything, and it was the first time I was able to go the entire weekend. So Friday was by far the best day, in my opinion, in terms of making deals. I sold the list. So I keep a list in my notes on my phone of everything, every deal that I make. My list for Philly
That's crazy.
Keeps going.
That's crazy.
And there's the bottom. That's my list from Philly. That thing from 3 days is massive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is safe to say that is an interesting show. It was a lot of fun to be there for 3 days. Met a bunch of new people, saw a lot of familiar faces in the hobby. Bought and sold so much, dude. Like, there was stuff I bought Friday, I sold Saturday. There was stuff I bought during the day on Saturday that I sold later in the day on Saturday. Stuff I bought Friday, sold Sunday, and so on and so forth. I've got very little left. That's all that's in there.
Yeah.
All these top loaders in the front, were just cards that were sitting on my desk that I threw in my box, just to take up space. This is it. I got 60 cards at PSA. Actually, it's over 100 because of what I dropped off at the show. PSA had a drop-off event where you just drop the cards off and they take care of everything.
Yeah.
So I dropped off 46 cards to be graded. I've got 57 at PSA right now. So those ones will add to that total. So I got 103 cards at PSA. I spent a bunch of money and made a bunch of money. So I will say this. Obviously we've chatted about, how we have different ways of calculating how much money we make at shows. There were a lot of cards that I made a lot of money on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in your words, I left with a lot more than I went there with.
Yes.
So it is not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, I went there with about $800 and probably $3,000 worth of cards, and I left with a lot more money in my pocket than I started with, and I'm gonna put it all in my bank account and basically wait until the cards come back from PSA, because that's my dilemma right now. Like, I got a bunch of stuff at PSA, and that is hoarding a lot of my money right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put all this money in the bank and then use the money from what I sell from the PSA stuff and what I have left to fund other purchases.
Yeah. Yeah. Running a little business there, Mr. Murph. So I'm happy.
I want to see these cards. You were telling me about them yesterday. I didn't get to see them.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff coming in here. So I'm happy for you, by the way. Hope you had a good time at the Philly show. I'm gonna build up here. So this is a gold
kind of like what I did, yeah.
Refractor of Nico Collins. Miles Garrett's refractor. These are
That's
cool
with the Browns logo on the back.
Yeah, this one's cool. It is out of 249, and it's a patch, but the patch is in the word Broncos for Marvin Mims, so the
That's cool.
Patch is inside of there. This is a number 2. Is that out of 400? Yeah, out of 400. This is a rookie numbered of Jalen Polk for the Patriots. This is a rookie card certified rookie Malik Neighbors, unnumbered. What do I have here? This is a Micah Parsons orange parallel numbered to 150.
Okay.
A Wes Welker numbered to 299 Immortals. This is cool. This is a color match green. This is numbered to 20. This is 10 of 20. And it's Raheem Mostert. Not his rookie, but it is 10 of 20.
Still good. No, hey, low numbered stuff, people like that.
And then we have this. And the two on the bottom are very, very thick. So
ooh, look at that.
We're going to start with this one, certified rookie Drake May.
Ooh, that might be a gradable. Is it great? Does it look good? Is it gradable?
Yeah, this one's in good shape. I'm going to look at some of them more closely, but yeah, that one looks good. This one I love because he's very animated. This is a pink parallel refractor, and this is of Tavante Sweat, and it's numbered to 225, but look at that face. He's running.
Ah! Oh, my God. He's rubbing. He's stumbling. He's chugging. He's going.
Yeah, that was awesome. It looks like he's having a good time. So this one is a refractor of Tyron Hapa. This is numbered to 276 of the Green Bay Packers.
It's an odd number To number or card 2?
This one is numbered to 50. It's a Chief, Jared Wiley. It's also a rookie, and it is a turquoise parallel.
Okay.
This one is probably grade worthy. This is an insert of Bo Nix in his rookie year.
That is a cool one with the logos behind them. That's a good card.
Yeah, they're called.
I don't know what it's worth. I don't know what it would be worth graded, but that is a sweet card.
Yeah, they're called like franchise foundations.
So
there's that one.
That's
This one's like a $50 card.
I mean, I guess it's an insert, but still.
Yeah. This one's like a $50 card right now. Max Crosby. It is a gold refractor. It's numbered to, I believe, 10.
Yeah, I think Panini golds are to 10. That's nice.
Yeah, so that's like a $50 card. Here is the one I showed you before, but it's the pink parallel rookie refractor numbered to 199, I believe. Drake May.
That's, definitely. If it looks good, definitely grade it.
That's the 199. Here is my, I guess I'd call this bronze or rose gold refractor. This is a rookie numbered to 349 patch card of J.J. McCarthy.
There you go.
And here come the biggins. This is a patch, but you got to look closely at the patch. This is numbered to 10. This is numbered 5 out of 10. Auto patch, Myles Garrett, 10 in the world. And the patch...
That is sick.
Inside of Browns, the patch reads pound from their dog pound jerseys.
Oh my God, that's sick.
It reads pound.
You sure you want to sell that?
It reads pound inside of that. I don't know. And then, but wait, there's more. We have an RPA, a rookie patch auto, and this is numbered to 5. So that was numbered to 10. This is numbered to 5. 2 of 5. Cade Stover, RPA, pink parallel, with the patch being almost the entire head of the Texan.
Oh, man, that's nice. I'm not going to lie. I've never heard of Cade Stover, but that patch is nasty.
2 of 5, RPA, pink parallel, and that is the Texan, I believe, from the sleeve of the jersey.
That's so sick.
So, look at these kids.
I mean, I know it was an expensive box, but
these cards.
I think you did okay.
This card by itself would pay me back the box. So, and I've seen some Myles Garrett
I didn't realize
ones.
the box was that expensive.
So the Myles Garrett. So I've seen the guys at GG Cards and Breaks, because that's where I got the box. Go and get yours tomorrow because they're closed today. But go and get yours Tuesday. Well, supplies last. Go tomorrow. Go tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. 639 Delmar Place. They open at 10 a.m. in Syracuse. This card. So Myles Garrett, other stuff that he's done that are patch autos, maybe lower numbered ones and whatever, they showed me the prices on them. And they don't look as good as this, and they obviously don't have the pound written in there or anything. Those cards were going for over $500.
I would list it for like $550 or $600, and then, if someone offers you, see what people offer you.
How sick are these cards? They're so sick.
That's it. You get a Myles Garrett super collector or a Brown super collector, like that's so sick.
Oh, and by the way, your boy also pulled a 1 of 1 in helping my buddy Pete Green, the owner of Mother's Cupboard. I have never in my life pulled a 1 of 1. He said to me, open a pack from his certified box, because he opened his first. I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah, go ahead. I open it up. I look, and I see the Jaguars logo, and it's upside down. And I was like, oh, it's a Jaguar. And I was like, oh, it's Brian Thomas Jr. So this is his rookie card. And I like Brian Thomas Jr. I got one of his graded cards over here. So I flip it over, and I go, oh, it's numbered, because I saw the silver beneath the picture. And then I was like, why isn't it? This was my reaction. I go, why is it in cursive? Oh, 1 of 1.
You need the security cam footage of that.
Yeah. 1 of 1.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
1 of 1. Brian Thomas Jr. Rookie card. My first 1 of 1 that I have ever pulled from anything is a Jaguar, when I've been a Jaguar fan since the creation of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the only 1 of 1 I've ever pulled was at GG Cards and Breaks, was a Jaguar, is a rookie card, and Brian Thomas Jr. just set the franchise record for receiving yards for a Jaguars rookie in Jacksonville history right before their 30th anniversary of being in the league. And so there's a deal that Pete, being awesome, Pete said to me, this card is set aside. He said, you and I will talk. We will make a plan. We will make a trade. We will make a deal. He looked at some of my stuff. He's like, we'll make a trade for what he gets and me getting the Brian Thomas. He said, unless you tell me that you're not interested, this card is not on the market, and we'll make a deal for it. So even though it was his box, I technically did pull my first 1 of 1, and it was Brian Thomas Jr., which is nuts. And by the way, Anthony Campbell at GG Cards and Breaks has the Midas touch. He was opening boxes a few weeks ago at trade night, and he got a 1 of 1, 4 autographs of actors and actresses from a TV show that included Denise Richards and the guy that's currently playing Reacher and all this stuff. Crazy. And then I said to him, I said, listen.
From Blue Mountain State.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I saw that.
They got a Blue Mountain State.
I saw that because Gigi posted it, didn't they?
Yeah. And then they posted these ones as well. So I said to him, I said to Pete, you got to have Anthony pick your box because he has been on an incredible run. And then, he did? He picked the box that came out with the 1 of 1 and other good stuff.
Oh my goodness.
For Pete. And then he picked the box that got the ones that you just saw that I got. So all I'm going to tell you is go to GG Cards and Breaks, and if you can, specifically have Anthony drop everything he's doing to pick your box or your pack of cards. Because Anthony has been absolutely undeniably incredible. So at GG Cards and Breaks, I pulled my first downtown and my first 1 of 1, both in store. I pulled my first ever jersey card that had an entire logo pretty much in it. And I pulled my first card that actually had a name inside of the patch with the pound from Dog Pound in the Browns patch. So all I'm saying is I told you GG Cards and Breaks is the best. Now hopefully you'll listen to me even more and go over there Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and make sure that you give a shout out to Josh, Anthony, Joel, Alex, the whole team over at GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. 10 to 6 Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5 on Sundays. And, of course, the great place to buy your Christmas and holiday gifts and to get a little something for yourself. So I got 2 breaks coming up, 1 a pack, 1 a box. Still trying to get my Caitlin Clark. We'll see if I get it. There was only 3.
I saw a lot of them on the show floor yet on the last 3 days. You don't want to know how much money they were.
That's why I want to pull one. Because the Select 2024 Select is in its inaugural season with the WNBA. Never been Panini Select before, so this is their inaugural edition. And I bought a box of WNBA. The cards are sick. I got some really cool cards. But I bought a box hoping for a Caitlin Clark auto of her rookie year. I haven't opened it yet. I will be opening it, and you'll be able to watch it on YouTube and Facebook. Both.
Trust me, you're going to want to sell it if you pull it.
Yeah, well, both.
Those things, dude, the cheapest Caitlin Clark auto I saw was $1,200.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say somewhere around 2,000, I would imagine. So I'm very excited.
You would be so tempted to sell it. I would probably encourage you to sell it.
Yeah.
I would not blame you if you kept it. But I'll tell you right now, if you do pull, I would encourage you to sell it.
Well,
because I can't see her market staying where it is forever.
Let's hope that I get one. Hopefully. I've been waiting. I bought college boxes. Now I'm buying WNBA stuff. There's only a couple boxes left of WNBA Select at GG Cards and Breaks. So I'll be doing a break of that, and I'll be doing a jumbo pack break of Score, which I've done well with. I'm hoping to get an auto in that. So with that being said, this has been our sports card show and tell from GG Cards and Breaks. And this has got
to be one of the longest episodes we ever done.
This has been almost 4 hours.
It is 12:36.
We have been on the air with you for almost 3.5 hours, folks. So with that being said, wake up call, under promise and over delivers. We hope you have a wonderful day. Keep voting in the polls on X. That's X at CallDT, the former Twitter, at CALLDT. If you had a vote, who would you pick to win the Heisman? Even though the vote has gone to Travis Hunter, who would you pick? Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty? 72.7 for Genty, 27.3 for Travis Hunter. And if you had to choose, feet to the fire, you don't have to be a fan of either one. You just have to pick one. If you had to choose between the Mets and the Yankees, who would you pick between the two? It was 50-50. The Mets are winning again, 51% to 49%. It's still very close. So with that being said, we hope you have a wonderful day. Murph, as always, thank you for your time. It's good to see you again. And we definitely did 2 shows in one today, so happy to have you back.
I think we probably did, but it was great to be back, and I'm looking forward to it.
We'll
see you guys next week.
Take care. That coming from Murph here on a Murph Monday. DT and Murphy coming to you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. I want to thank you for watching and listening on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world. So thank you for being here with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Of course, once we go live, we hop into the archive on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. And, of course, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, to connect with us on any one of those. Make sure that you subscribe on there as soon as possible. It is free to subscribe. And, of course, a big-time thanks to our wonderful Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Course. You will find them on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines. And, of course, big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners here: Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Servomation, Mother's Cupboard, Avicoli's, Great Lakes, Honda City, Ma and Pa's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Fire Pit Barbecue, and Saloon, of course, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Camp Ground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, Avicoli's. Tonight we will be there with the Liverpool Warriors girls indoor track team. We will see you there tonight for dinner and a show. Come support Liverpool, come support their athletic programs for the Warriors, and come support the girls indoor track team, specifically on the pizza side. Tonight we will be there with you for dinner and a show at 6 p.m. today, December 16th, right there at Avicoli's, down the road from Liverpool High School on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. We look forward to seeing you there. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month where sports meets life in what we like to call the Bobcat Buzz, with student athletes, coaches, and administration for men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports. You'll find them all right here on Wake Up Call, and you can go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt to find all of our wonderful content over the years with the Bobcats. And make sure you click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and look for the BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Lemoyne College Dolphins are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins every single Wednesday during Dolphin Time. You will find your Dolphins here with us, student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni diving into their stories every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, the archive of over 3.5 years is on youtube.com youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Lemoyne playlist. You could also find your Dolphins by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And as always, fins up. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single month on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time weekly. They're here with us on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. You will find your Bearcats during Bearcat time. And, of course, speaking with student athletes, coaches, and administration connected to Binghamton University. Moments with Marshall featuring Gene Marshall and the Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration. Of course, it is always a great time when we have the opportunity to speak with the Bearcats. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, look for the Binghamton playlist, and you can also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com, and as always, go Bearcats. I want to thank Murph for joining me inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Speaking on Major League Baseball, the college football playoff, the Army-Navy game, we didn't get to Marshall. I mentioned it, but we didn't get to it, so I'll talk about it later on this week. And, of course, the NFL and our sports card show and tell, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, as always, God bless, no stress, do your best. You will find me tonight with the Liverpool girls indoor track team on site, on location, down the road from Liverpool High School at Avicoli's. We will see you there at 6 p.m. tonight, December 16th. And a happy birthday once again, yesterday in heaven, to my G-Mama, who would have turned 108 on December 15th. I love you. I miss you. And you know that I will always love you. A bushel and a peck. And a squeeze around the neck, as you would say. We'll talk with you soon. Be safe and take care.